Motion to enter executive session for discussing personnel and contracts. Can I say contracts there, Carrie?
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
The disclosure of which would result in an unwarranted invasion of personal privacy.
Right.
It's really much easier if I have it written down in front of me.
Okay. Anybody?
Carrie, was that good?
Yes,
Motion.
you're fine.
That works? Okay.
Yes,
Danielle?
you're fine.
And
Second,
nobody wants to.
Second.
all in favor?
Thanks, Robert.
Motion carries unanimously. Okay. So call to order for public session, and if everybody could please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
To the flag
of the United States
of America,
and to the
the
republic
republic
for
which
which
it stands,
stands
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
visible.
indivisible,
liberty,
So thank you, everybody, for attending the meeting tonight. We do appreciate it. Want to wish all of you a happy new year. Hope you're safe and healthy and well. We have turned the calendar page, but hopefully we'll get to turn some other pages as well as we move through the next few months. And that would be a nice positive thing for us in 2021. So we do have some stuff on the superintendent's report. I'm going to turn it right over to Dr. Massera.
Okay, well, thank you, George. I appreciate that. We do have several student recognitions. We want to make sure, each meeting, this has been difficult. We haven't had the opportunity. Last year we made it a point to ensure that we had students or presentations at many of the board meetings, and we want to continue in that. But it's been a little bit difficult under this format. So we do, however, have several student presentations. Bill, perhaps as we do this, if we can promote some of those people to panelists that are going to be doing the presentations.
Sure.
First up, Janine, who's first up there?
Muted. Janine, you're muted.
Hey there. First up is Dennis Ritchie, and he's going to be presenting the spelling bee winners. That was for the contest that was held on the 8th.
Hey everyone, how you doing? Yeah, we had our annual spelling bee. We, we're able to actually live stream it to a lot of the parents of the students that were participating. So it was interesting, new format for us. And I want to give a quick shout out to our judges, Mrs. Valentine and Mrs. Lopez and Mrs. Craig, for organizing the whole thing and being so kind of creative with how they had to set it up in the gym and organize the event, and Mr. Nofi for helping out with the tech, and Mrs. Jackson as well. We had a pretty good competition that actually took us right up to the buses about to roll out of the parking lot with the two finalists still going back and forth. So I want to congratulate Caitlin Bukowski, who was our overall winner. Her final word was civility that she had to spell, and her championship word was mallard. And another shout out to Jayla Overton, who also was our runner-up. Her final word was charade. A lot of the competition was very intense, and we had, I think it was like 27 rounds that we had to go through. So congratulations to all the participants and to our finalist and winner. Great job.
That's wonderful. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Those are some tough words. I don't know if I could spell them. So that's great to hear, and congratulations to both. Are they with us?
I was looking. I don't see them on the list.
Okay.
If they raise their hand, if the students
Caitlin's mom is on.
raise their hand. One attendee's raising their hand. That must be.
Okay, well, there we go.
Okay.
Hey, Caitlin, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Very proud of you. How did you know how to spell that word?
know how to spell that word. I didn't.
Did you study very hard?
Nope.
No.
Well, good for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Nice job.
Congratulations.
I think
Good job.
Caitlin's being a little modest because she was absolutely helping her friends. She was excellent with helping her friends study. Really did a great job, Caitlin, and helping those around you was really appreciated by some of your friends that I happen to know.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and thank you, Mr. Ricci. All right, next up, I believe we have
Next up is the
Dr.
middle
Reggio.
school. Yep.
So if we could promote Dr. Reggio, please, and
Sure.
demote Mr. Ricci.
Hi, Dan.
Remove. Nope. And we will stop video. Okay, and where is Melissa Reggio? There we go. Promote the panelist. Okay.
Okay, hello.
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 How are you? Mr. Nopi,
Hi.
if you could also promote Mrs. Bulger. She's going to be joining me in honoring our 5 middle school students tonight.
Sure.
And I could share my screen and play that, show that presentation too.
Sure.
Do you want me
So
to do that?
I'll start while Mrs. Bulger's getting on. I'm very, very excited to be with you tonight to honor 5 middle school students. And they are being honored for winning our food truck wars at the middle school. So Mrs. Bulger, every 6th grader, if you have a 6th grader at the middle school, your child has the pleasure of being in Mrs. Bulger's Family and Consumer Science class. It's a class that is in our 6th grade curriculum that all of our students take. And I actually, when I went in to vote for the food truck wars, I was walking out with Mrs. Fabian and I said, I think if I was a 6th grader at Santa Moriches Middle School, this might just be my very favorite class. The experience that Mrs. Bulger is giving our 6th grade students this year is absolutely phenomenal, especially considering the circumstances that we are under. And it is a joy to be in her room and walk through and see what the students are experiencing. So the way that, well, let's just see, let's see if Mrs. Bulger's here.
She's in. I got her in.
Perfect. Okay, I'll let Mrs. Bulger explain a little bit about the project that she did with the kids, but I just want to share before she does from my experience as a person that got to vote. Mrs. Bulger opens it up to all middle school and high school staff members, which was a great way to engage the entire secondary complex and get them into her classroom. And she gave us each $5 when we entered the classroom, and we were able to walk around, and she had like a food truck, beautiful setup around the room. And we were able to actually put our money, we were asked to spend our $5 with $1 per truck. And we were actually able to pay our food truck and deposit $1 into the top of the food truck. So that's how everyone was able to vote. It was an amazing experience. And our students worked very, very hard. It was the talk of the 6th grade while they were working on it. So if you have a 6th grader, you know that. And Mrs. Bulger, why don't you tell us a little bit about the project, and then we can go through the slideshow and honor our students. All 5 students are with us tonight.
Well, I'm so honored to be here to represent the 6th grade students. They are amazing. Our Food Truck Wars is an annual project, and usually it's done in groups, but because of COVID, we had to do it individually, and these kids amazed me. As you probably know, part of the curriculum for FACS is a design unit. And that unit explores color theory, interior design, fashion, textile design, graphic design, and we're doing basic hand sewing right now. So this project was part of our graphic design. And the food truck had a lot of great components to it. The first part starts off with the students themselves coming up with a concept for their truck. So we're talking about like whatever they want. Sky's the limit. And that's why we got so many amazing, amazing trucks. They first designed a logo, and then they come up with a slogan for their food truck and their business name. We talk about branding, we talk about all those kinds of things. And then we start to visualize the truck model itself. So the model itself helps kids kind of visualize something that's once a flat piece of paper. We actually do it on cardstock. They color it and then they have to build it. And this year they did it at home themselves. So they're taking something that's one-dimensional and making it three-dimensional, which is amazing for sixth graders. And then they do an advertisement and a menu that goes along with it. And they do this through Google Slides, which reinforces all of the amazing computer skills that they have and that they are building in my class and in their other classes. So the food truck part is more traditional, color pencils, glue, tape, paper, and then the other components are a little bit more difficult, I would say, but not for these kids because they're on the computer all the time. So without further ado, our food truck winners. For the first winner was Aubrey Poach. And Dr. Massari, you can go to the next slide. There she is, and there is her Back to the Future food truck. And you can see her advertisement here on the slide as well. Her slogan was, "Where we're going, we don't need roads," which is amazing. You can't see under her little food truck there. There's Doc Brown and Marty McFly there for the ride. So well done, Aubrey. Is she here with us?
Yes, she's an attendee.
Awesome. Okay, and then our next food truck winner was Jack Mayer. And you can see his Bitmoji there. He is serving up his Thai guy food truck food. Just amazing. And if you can make it out in that picture, he actually has a chimney there with smoke coming out. I mean, he reinforced those tires with popsicle sticks underneath. I mean, he was not messing around. Jack actually received the most votes out of any food truck for all of the classes. I have 5 sections. And he came in with $55 in his truck, which was amazing. So well done, Jack.
That's awesome.
Okay, our next food truck winner was Ryan Sears. Ryan did the Krill Grill, and if you can see it there, that is a SpongeBob theme, was super popular with our kids. And Ryan, he told us in the beginning, he was like, I had a feeling I was gonna win. He knew it from the get-go. He really worked hard. It was vibrant. It was really well done, really well assembled. And remember, guys, these had to travel from home to school with those giant backpacks and not get crushed along the way. So yay, Ryan.
Nice job, Ryan.
Yeah, Brian.
I should also share the other basket that Ryan, in Ryan's picture, that red basket is a basket that Mrs. Volger gifted to each of the winners so that they can continue to bake at home. And she did that all on her own. So each winner also received that baking basket.
They got their dry measuring cups, their liquid measuring cups, their measuring spoons, the cupcake tin, the spatula, things like that. So they can start baking at home. Okay, and then you got a preview. So our next winner is Mr. Caden Leslie with the cereal grillers. Very, very clever. We'll cut your meat any way you want, says he. And he really, you can see he bedazzles. He has some rhinestones on those hubcaps there. So those rims are sparkly. So yay, Caden.
Good job.
Amazing, amazing job. Okay, and finally, our last winner, but not least, is Tamiya Bell. Tamiya had the Taco Loca. Everyone went crazy for this truck. She did an amazing job. She hand drew every taco and colored it in, covering that entire truck. She was really amazing. In fact, her dad shared with me that he's thinking about getting into the food truck business. So they have been working together and scheming some great things. Really good reinforcement of this project for both of them, and they seem to be enjoying it together. So yay, Tamiya.
Good job.
So I just want to congratulate everybody. You guys did an amazing job across the board. So congratulations to everybody. You all worked so hard, and I'm so, so proud of you.
That was really great to see. Some really creative ideas and nice and colorful, and a lot of different modalities that you're using. So just wonderful stuff. Thank you so much for sharing. And congratulations to all of the winners.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's really an honor. Thank you.
Yeah, really great. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
Good
now-
job, everyone.
And now we're going to pivot over to Miss Mangonia for the Students of the Month for December at the high school.
Okay, hold on a
Thank you,
second. We'll
Ms.
find her. Hold on. Go to attendee. And there she is. Okay.
Hi, how are you?
Hello.
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 So good evening. As the interim assistant principal, I have the pleasure of announcing our December Students of the Month. I'm very excited that we were able to start this again. It really gives a little bit of excitement to our students. And when I get to tell the students that they've been chosen by their teachers, it really brightens their day. And then when I get to make the phone call to the parents, it's just a really great experience. So I'm very excited that we picked this back up. And being an international baccalaureate school, we really try to personify the learner profile attributes. So what we do for our Students of the Month is we actually have our teachers recognize our students in relationship to those learner profile attributes. So each one of our students, I'm going to say their names so that they're recognized. Hopefully they're here with us tonight. I know that we made a good amount of phone calls to try and make sure that they could all hear their name being recognized because they should be very proud. And I'm also going to read the learner profile attribute that they're also representing. Oh yeah, these are our kids. They look great.
I can pull up the pictures individually.
So we have an inquirer, that is James Sears. He's an inquirer. Kaylee Roberts is knowledgeable. Martin Paskowicz is a thinker. Let's see.
You know what? Yeah, I'll do it like that and I'll just kind of.
Yeah, I'll go here. James Sears. Okay.
Wait,
Great
let
job,
me
James.
go to the beginning. I'm sorry. We're doing this spontaneously, guys. So is Julia.
Okay, Julia Castro Ulloa is caring. Congratulations, Julia. Mark Paskowicz is a thinker. Congratulations. Very proud of you. Kayla Mitchell is open-minded. Great job. Melanie Portillo is a risk taker. Proud of you. Skylar Dobry is balanced. Well done. Daniela Baust is principled. Great job. And Christian Lewinroth is reflective. Great job, Christian. Back to James Sears, inquirer. Great job. And we are back where we started, I believe.
Okay.
I'm very, very proud of them. I want to also thank the teachers for putting those nominations together and really thinking long and hard. They've came up with really great stories, and it's a great inspiration for fellow teachers to see students in different lights. So it was really great to hear from the teachers and from the students. They were excited to take their picture. So it was a great experience. So thank you and congratulations to all of you.
Is Kaylee Mitchell really a 12th grader?
Really? It was true.
That happened. Wow.
So wonderful, and congratulations to all of the students for their efforts. And we thank you for coming tonight.
Yeah, congratulations.
Congratulations, everyone, and thank you, Ms. Magonia.
Thank you.
Okay, and now I'm going to go to another presentation that I had set up here. Hold on one second.
This is our budget workshop, Ron?
Yes, we're moving over into our budget workshop.
Okay.
See where that is. There it is. So I'm all set to present that now, and I'm going to share that. Okay. Okay, everyone see that okay?
Yes.
All right, fantastic. Bill, what we need to do now is we need to have the entire administrative team, Jeremy, Marissa,
Okay.
Melissa, Courtney, Dennis and Danielle. They're going to be helping with this presentation.
Got it.
But while you're bringing them in, I'm going to start the presentation. Obviously, we have never seen anything like this in certainly in my career or in the last 100 years in terms of what we've gone through this past year. But I have to say that we have always looked at this as, hey, there's a challenge, but wherever there's a challenge, we need to try to find the opportunities within the challenges. And that's the approach we took. It was a very optimistic approach. George said to me the other day that, if there's a donut in the road, Ron sees the cake while others see the hole. And I thought that was a funny one. But truly, that's how we've tried to lead, and we've tried to carry our community through this pandemic in a way where we really we want to plan for growth, and these have been extraordinary times, but we want to plan for coming back. Whenever you face a challenge, you don't even understand how much you grow until you come out the other side and you realize it's amazing all the things we truly learned over the course of this past year. And so, as I indicated back in April, education in terms of a career education as a space shifted more during this pandemic than it has in 100 years, from a traditional model to one that really is one that I think when we come out the other side, we're going to be better for it. And that's sort of the idea behind this presentation, to talk about that and how we are planning for growth through these extraordinary times. So again, I couldn't resist the picture top left there. Trying to create opportunity amidst the challenges, that's been our mantra since March. And we know that there have been challenges. We know that we have really had to do things and think outside the box. And so this uncertainty and stress that has come from the economic, the social, and the political climate has really been a challenge. As a school district, we've really had to assess what that means, and how can we, through communication, through all these the things that you'll hear from our administrative team, how can we rise to that challenge and create opportunity in that? Attaining instructional equity, huge goal for us, yet we have limited resources, and having to, as I said before, shift from a traditional educational paradigm to a 21st century model where we are leveraging technology resources so that we can best meet the needs of our kids, was a challenge. And there was a lot of learning that had to take place. And there was a lot of experimentation that had to take place. And we needed to create that kind of a risk-free environment for not only our staff, but for our kids to be willing to go out there and put themselves out there and try new things. And lastly, because of those different challenges that existed, we had unprecedented health and safety concerns. Clearly, physical health was of paramount concern when we closed in March and then when we reopened. But not only that, mental health concerns, and really supporting, making sure that we kept people physically safe, but making sure that we supported people socially, emotionally, from a mental health perspective. So I'm going to switch the screen here. Bill, is everybody on now? If the administrative team is going to take it from here.
Yes, they're all in.
Great. Oh, I'll go back. Okay.
They just need to unmute themselves.
Okay. Yep. So the first challenge again was uncertainty and stress resulting from.
Dr. Reggio is not in.
She's not in.
No. All right, hold on. There she is.
I'll give them a chance to speak to this first slide.
There she goes. All right, she's in.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. So as Dr. Massara began to share, through challenging times come new opportunity. And 2020 has had many, many layers of economic, social, and political uncertainty and stress, locally, nationally, and globally, including, but definitely not limited to COVID-19, racial injustices and inequities that have been brought recently to the forefront, a turbulent transition of power politically, and very locally, the tragic death of a Center Moriches High School student. So 2020 has been very stressful locally, nationally, and globally. But we do know that through pain and stress and uncertainty, that can certainly bring strength, endurance, and new opportunities. So the administrative team has been discussing, where the cake is in the road, or what opportunities can come out of this, and where is our silver lining through all of this. So first and foremost, one of the opportunities that we saw is consistent and transparent communication through a variety of mediums. And these board meetings are a great example of that. The board meetings transitioned seamlessly to a new platform on Zoom, a new platform tonight on a webinar. And it's been extremely important related to communication that our board meetings have been positive and solution based. The board and the administration has carefully weighed out options and worked together to provide the best possible outcome for our students. I've noticed, and the administrative team has seen that the board, Dr. Massara and his teams never shied away from difficult conversations or questions, and the transparency throughout the whole process. Difficult questions and conversations certainly were approached in a solution-based manner and a positive manner, saying, what can we do for our students? So that transparent communication using a variety of mediums started here and continues in the buildings into the community. The conversation continued with our community members at our building level parent Zoom meetings regarding reopening to start the year, helping to provide transparency to our plan, ease concerns, and help answer questions where there were questions. And the same communication continues inside the buildings. At Clayton Huey, the middle school and the high school, we have open Zoom chats with our staff members, weekly update emails, and the social media use is at an all-time high. Second, creating a common reassuring environment, especially during times of stress, is crucial. This is key for both students and staff members. We've worked to reassure our students by explaining our guidelines, our parameters, and our procedures that we put in place, especially to keep them safe. We consistently create a calm and reassuring environment through stressful times through communication. The morning after the tragedy with our high school student, we had a very early morning staff meeting. The morning after the incident last week at our nation's capital, Dr. Massara immediately addressed the entire district, followed by emails by each building principal to the staff. Consistently opening those lines of communication, listening to feedback, and creating the safest and most calm environment possible has been a focus and will continue to be a focus as we move forward this year and into next school year. Another important piece related to a calm and reassuring environment, since we went live at the middle school and the high school, it's important to note that our students, whether they're in person 5 days a week, hybrid, or fully virtual, see their students every period, every day. And that consistency has really helped build connections and relationships for our students, which is a key to helping them feel calm and reassured and safe at school or at home. Even when our teachers are home on quarantine, they're teaching their students live period by period, again, creating that consistency for our student body. Prudent fiscal spending. COVID-19 has undoubtedly impacted us economically. We spent more money on PPE. However, on the other side, we were able to save money and spend less in areas, related to programs that have not run, for example. And Dr. Massara has shared many times in the past year that we're creating a traditional budget in uncertain times and that we need to be flexible. And that's exactly what has been done. We've cut where we could and spent where we needed to in regard to safety. I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Jackson now, who will continue the slide.
So as for uniting our community, we have been doing that since the pandemic has started. We have put out the hashtag CM Positivity, and we made sure that it was spread far and wide. And the biggest thing that we have done as a community, faculty, staff, Center Moriches community members, students, parents, anybody who's involved with Center Moriches, our biggest thing that we did was the Caravan of Caring. We had organized that, and it was one of the best parades I've ever seen. And I'm glad that I was able to be a part of it. I've never seen so many students, families, even neighbors who have lived within the community for years. They all came out, were all cheering, had everything they could to do to just show their support for what we were doing for our students, especially during the time when we could not see them in the same capacity that we had seen them in the past. So throughout this time, that was just one of many things that we have done, from ending our school year with 3 different virtual like graduations, with the high school having the ultimate graduation celebration for their 2020 students, all the way starting the school year where while we could not have a traditional pep rally and homecoming, we did come up with a spirit week that lasted about 2 weeks. High school students were able to paint their parking lot spots. Our elementary students were proud to wear their Center Moriches colors. We're asking if they can do it again because it was just so much fun and so much love that came from it. But we did not stop there with the positivity. We continued on from drama club auditions to our spelling bee recipient and having that virtually, to for those that may have missed it, may have seen it, our band students have performed for the holidays and put on a holiday show for us, since we could not have our winter celebrations that we're used to. And phenomenal job done by all. So big thanks to the teachers, the faculty, staff, everyone who was involved in keeping everybody at Center Moriches positive. And together we spread love and joy, but we can't do any of this without the Center Moriches community. So we thank you for helping us bring that positivity from the school outwards. Continuing on, remaining in tune and feedback to our constituents, we are making progress in that area by discussing and implementing the ideas that are shared with us, and not just from our parents and from our students, but also from our faculty. We meet with our administrative team on a regular basis with look back ideas to come together and figure out what works best for the middle school, what's going to work best for the high school, what will work best for the elementary school. Some ideas might not be used right now, but they are still on the table, as no idea is a bad idea. So we take all of that feedback from our community members and make sure that they are heard, that they understand that we are listening to them. Our doors are always open. We ask for people to send us emails, reach out via social media mediums, contact us with whatever concerns or even positive information that they have, so we can make Center Moriches a better, it's already better, but let's make it even better than what it already is. So that's all I have for us. We're going to turn it over to the next slide, Dr. Massara, for Mr. Ritchie and Ms. Mangonia.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. So this slide is focusing on attaining instructional equity with limited resources by shifting instructional practices from a traditional education paradigm. In my mind, Center Moriches has really been challenged, just like everybody else has, with the task of providing equity to our students in a time where every student really needs some sort of device. And unfortunately, not everybody is able to have their own device. So Center Moriches took it upon themselves to say, well, we're going to figure this out and we're going to do it together. And we're going to meet the needs of our community. And the rolling out of our one-to-one Chromebook initiative is amazing. I'm especially happy about it because it is happening right now at the high school. Yesterday, our students were picking them up. Tomorrow, they're going to be picking them up. And it's just really great to see. So from the beginning of the year, our students who were in need were given Chromebooks. We did a needs assessment. We surveyed our community to see who had them and who needed them. I think overall as a district, everybody did a great job. Administration all worked together to make sure that in all 3 buildings, any student, any family who needed a device was able to get one, because right now everyone really needs one. Now the fact that we have the opportunity to roll out this one-to-one Chromebook initiative is even more exciting, because now our students will be bringing them back and forth to school, and the teachers will be able to synchronize their educational process even more. So we changed from asynchronous to synchronous, which was a big jump, and it went great. We've been seeing great improvements, and now even more so, the fact that we're going to be able to improve our science labs, and we're going to be able to have students who are in the classroom collaborating and talking with our students who are at home. So it's really great. I'm very thankful for it as a teacher, as a parent, all of those things. So it's a very exciting thing for our community, and the driving force of equity has really been what our administrative team, Board of Education really stands by. And I think that we're doing a really great job at making sure that the needs are met of our community members. Another thing that was really great to see, the second bullet here, is to build local capacity by promoting teacher-facilitated professional development. In the past, if we felt like there was something that was needed, we would search outside of our school district usually and find the best person who could come in and show us how to do something, teach us how to do it. Well, it's a different world right now, and we really met the challenge within our own schools. We would do in-house needs assessments. We would talk to each other. Teachers were talking to each other. Buildings were talking to each other to see what's working and what's not. And I've never seen teachers and staff collaborating more than I have over this past year. The fact that some teachers who have been teaching for so many years felt like they were first-time teachers again, it made some of us very uncomfortable. However, the support from other staff members and from administration and the board and the community was really amazing to watch. So being able to kind of see what our teachers were doing in the classroom was amazing. We started to set up our own teacher facilitated professional development. So instead of looking outside of our district, we looked within, and we had some great teachers who were able to probably step out of their comfort zone. And instead of being in front of the class of their students, they were in front of their peers and their coworkers and their colleagues. And they did an amazing job running these professional developments. We used our superintendent conference days very wisely. We made sure that we were using every minute we had, because so much time was needed in preparation of how our teachers were going to teach our students and provide the best education we could. So whether it be Google Classroom, our other Google platforms, Nearpod, we had teachers presenting to other teachers and really helping each other. And it was amazing to see. It was amazing to watch. It was nice to hear the students with feedback saying how great their, multiple classes were using the same types of things now. There was more consistency. It was really great. We also were able to meet the needs of our special education students and our E&L students who needed, English language learners. They needed extra support, which we knew, but we didn't all know how to provide it. So we had our special education director stand up there, and we had our E&L teachers talk to other teachers and basically show them how to provide proper supports. And it really was a great experience. And it's all along creating this equity for our students where it might not have seemed possible, but we made it happen. And although it might have not looked exactly like the traditional classroom experience that we may be used to, we have come so far. And to be honest, I'm excited for the future, because when things do go back to somewhat quote unquote normal, we have learned so much. So being able to bring all of the things that we have learned into the new world post-COVID is really going to be something amazing to watch. Mr. Ritchie, I know that you've done some, you're setting up your teacher facilitated professional developments as well.
Yep, we sure are. And we're supporting the online learning platforms across all grade levels. Like we said, Mrs. Mangonia touched on a lot of really important points. And I think, it kind of, when you're sitting at home on Saturdays and Sundays now watching NFL football and commercials from corporations are thanking teachers left and right, it kind of goes to show how much, people realize and appreciate the extra effort that our teachers are making. Nowadays it's not the same job that it was a couple of years ago, or even last year for that matter. So, kudos to all of our teachers for, really finding ways of being creative, finding ways, when we say supporting online learning, it's not just teaching, it's finding ways of pushing out content to students in creative ways and scouring the internet for the perfect video to try to figure out, what's going to send the message home to my kids, and pushing out activities and projects for students so that they can still have those hands-on experiences, whether they're working at home or, we have people that are going and doing house deliveries to try to find, get the materials to students. And I know that's happening district-wide, and just to make sure that those students that are both working virtually or at home have the opportunity to participate in that kind of learning experience, because we all know that that's the kind of stuff that's powerful for our students. Our teachers have spent, almost an entire year now, going back to last year, examining multiple platforms and, attending professional developments, participating in professional developments, leading professional developments and collaborations with their peers to be able to find the perfect, fit for their grade levels. And I know that, from the kindergarten to 12th grade, that can look very different. So, we've had to have, building-wide meetings, grade level meetings throughout the entire year, going back to last year's full virtual format, just to make sure that, we've pinpointed the perfect setup for the kids that's age appropriate for every student, and that's innovative so that the students can not only receive information, but also push back information to be assessed, appropriately by their teachers, because that feedback that we're providing our kids right now is probably the most valuable thing that we can do for them. We did see academic slides during the pandemic, and, but our kids are resilient. I was talking with Dr. Massera about this recently, and the students, when they come back from even a quarantine, their ability to kind of pick up and jump back in is kind of amazing. And the teachers, their ability to be creative and adjust to the climate, every day is a new adventure. So they're figuring it out as we go. I'm going to talk a little bit later on about our phase 3 transition. And, I think it's exciting to know that now, going into increased advocacy for students, we're advocating for all of our kids K-12 in new creative ways. Even the elementary has, created a CST format that's similar to the middle school and high school to increase connectivity for our kids. We're increasing communication, tenfold through social media platforms, remind student emails at the middle school and high school for them to communicate directly with administrators and teachers, websites, Google Classrooms, you name it. And frequent evaluation of support services is also continuing as well, just to make sure that the students that are in need are getting the adequate support that they require. And our ability to personalize learning has completely changed. Now, our teachers are looking at different programs. Even I was just in a kindergarten class yesterday, and the teacher was really excited to show me this new database program that she was investigating. And it's exciting to see that our teachers are trying to still, even now, they've gotten into this comfort zone and they're starting to hit a rhythm, but they're still trying to find ways to push the envelope and see if there's something new and creative that they can do to really make a positive impact on their students. So they're evaluating their students frequently. They're finding ways, K-12 to assess their students and make, use of those assessments to modify and differentiate their program. And, now that we're going to become, next week, actually, K-12, we are going to be live synchronous. And that's something that's really exciting for all of us to have that opportunity for students that are even at home, whether it's quarantine or full virtual, that you have the opportunity to still participate in live instruction and see your classmates and see your teachers is really unique opportunity for everybody right now. So we're really happy with, the work that we've done so far, and moving forward, we think it's really going to have a tremendous impact on how we instruct our students moving forward. So now it's my opportunity to pass it on to Mr. Thode and Mrs. Fabian.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So as we've discussed already, as an administrative team, our overall health and safety and well-being was at the forefront of our focus when we transitioned back to school this year. We focused on this because we know that if our students and our staff don't feel physically and emotionally safe, we can't even begin to address many of the academic initiatives that Mr. Ritchie and Mrs. Mangonia just discussed. We know from Maslow's hierarchy of needs that we need to focus on meeting people's physical and emotional needs so that they can get to a place where self-actualization can occur. We know this to be true, not just for our children, but for our adults that we work with as well. The social emotional well-being of our students, staff, and community has been our top priority and the #1 focus at our faculty meetings, as well as some of our smaller team meetings. This can range from a student who's disconnected and we're pursuing a home visit to work with them and their family, or it could just be a simple parent meeting where we need to get everybody on board, help them figure out how to use the technology platforms in place, and get the student to have some more success in school. So creating these connections and the consistency with seeing their teachers, whether in person or virtually, helps positively affect their social emotional well-being. It helps affect positively too our staff's social and emotional well-being. We have asked our staff to be more flexible, meet our students where they're at, be more empathetic, and they certainly have been showing extreme understanding for different individual needs and circumstances. We take the time daily to celebrate our small successes, and we're grateful that we've had such a great reopening. Our teachers have also increased their understanding of helping students during these difficult times, not just globally, but locally too, which we touched on earlier. They realize the importance of maintaining the connections through any platform, no matter how disconnected we actually feel at times. We believe our student body has also developed a very similar awareness, and they're showing signs of how grateful they are to their teachers every day. Just last week in the middle school, we tweeted about an adorable group of 7th graders that surprised their math teacher during virtual extra help by holding up thank you signs. And she, contacted us and was crying and was really surprised by them. And then in the high school, I don't know if you guys have seen this yet, but our students have created a welcome video to show to the East Moriches community. And basically various students came together, they worked on the video to send a message to the neighboring community. And the overall theme was that Center Moriches stands together as a family through all times. It was really amazing and very touching. We've leveraged our technology to provide virtual services, like, academically, but also in other ways too. Departmentally, the guidance team has really reinvented how they deliver their services. We have kind of stepped away from some of our traditional forms and processes and made most of our communication virtual now. So our students can access their counselors through our website. They can make transcripts requests online. They can make appointments online. They can access any of our forms online or packets of communication on our website. We heightened our use of Naviance for our students and have every high school grade level exploring self-assessments, as well as various other tools that are going to help them plan for their future. So we're super proud of that. We've aligned our guidance department with one Google Classroom. So each grade level has a Google Classroom to access, and that helps because they're all getting consistent messages from our school counseling team. We're no longer a phone call away, but literally at your fingertips, because over the break, this is a great example. Our counselors were receiving many emails from our students and transcripts requests. So they were working diligently to meet that January 1st college application deadline, and our counselors were there assisting them throughout the entire process. Another great resource that we've gotten a lot of good feedback on is our financial aid night and our college application night. Mrs. Hession shared an email with me from a parent that was so grateful that this resource was at their fingertips. They were able to view it at their leisure. They were able to rewind and go back if they needed some additional information. And many parents have actually contacted the counselors and said how accessible our services are and what a great resource that is. So I think that that's exciting. With all of these challenges ahead of us, our focus has become kind of transforming our supports to reach our students that can't be with us daily. It feels like they are because, again, we're just at their fingertips. But we've learned so much that I think we could forever apply these practices and initiatives to our programs. And as my light turned off, I hope you guys could still see my programs and departments moving forward. So go ahead, Mr. Thode.
Hi, can everybody see me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. So full disclosure, my daughter came home from college last night. Today is her 21st birthday, and we're out for dinner. So I'm actually in my car to present to you. So I apologize just if the lighting's not so so good or anything like that. So first off, let's just kind of be very, very honest about the situation. We're all struggling. And I can tell you very directly that I have personally, and I know the rest of the administrative team have spoken with many parents who are struggling with their own personal situations, their family situation, their student situation, the whole gamut. So we have to keep that in mind, not only now as we get through this, but as we move forward. With that being said, I think it's all about our mindset. And I know every day, dealing with my own children and their learning needs and our family situation and COVID and everything that comes with it, I have to center myself each day with a mindset of that we're going to get through this. We're going to come out on the other end. We're going to make progress. We're going to learn and we're going to grow and become more resilient. And that mindset is critical as we move forward. Again, I cannot express enough how often we have conversations with parents who are telling us one story after the other about their struggles or their child's struggles and how it's impacted all aspects of their lives. So again, keeping in mind, mindset is going to be the key for us every day moving forward. So we're talking basically about safety and reinventing new teaching spaces, utilizing all these instructional spaces. The best way I can explain this is just a snapshot of what the summer looked like. We didn't know what the questions were. We didn't know what this was all going to look like as we reopened school. So the summer, if anybody had the opportunity to get into the high school or the middle school or the Clayton Huey during the summer, everything was upended. We've now utilized, obviously, gyms, the LGI, the auditoriums, different classrooms, storage rooms. We're moving equipment out. We're decluttering classrooms so we can fit kids. Everything in the name of safety. We have now put in systems in place to monitor the bathrooms better, signing in of offices and bathrooms, limiting movement of children, cleaning and sanitizing. I cannot express enough how difficult that was to make sure that every classroom on a period by period basis is cleaned. And we have to be creative, whether it be through the custodians, whether it be the voluntary actions of teachers, whether it's administrators running into different classrooms on certain periods to get these things done, just because we don't have enough staff or people to do it on a period by period basis. All of this had to be worked out prior to starting, and then as we went on. It's still fluid. So as kids come back, choose to come back from 100% virtual to hybrid, we have to look at our numbers. We have had to move classrooms around because certain classrooms can only carry a certain amount of kids, and we have had to swap classes for certain classes based on when kids come and go. So this is still fluid. It's always in the name of safety, and will continue to be in the name of safety. Increasing student and family outreach. Okay, I would be remiss if I didn't start with the fact of the administrative team, Dr. Macera's team, and the building level teams. Our communication more than ever before that I've been here has been spot on. We have communicated on an ongoing basis about everything under the sun on a daily basis, whether it be from a Zoom meeting or a text chat or phone calls or meetings when we had the opportunity to meet in person. That was key because we don't know what we don't know. And we didn't know that with the issue that would be at the high school would not be at the middle school or at the Clayton Huey and so on and so forth. So that communication was critical. What we have learned through this experience is the need to continually contact, over communicate, and give immediate responses to students and parents. And again, going back to how I started this portion of the presentation, parents are struggling, and we will get emails, we will get phone calls, we will get text messages. We will have all kinds of communication with parents at all hours of the day, night, weekend, and breaks. And we have all put it as a priority to get that information or respond to every child, student, or student or parent that has a question. So that immediate response has been the focus of what we've been doing. And again, I said we don't know what we don't know. Now with this constant communication, we do know which families have certain needs. which families have certain struggles. We do know because we're meeting with kids who are on the front line of this and finding out what their needs are, what's happening, and what's what struggles they're having or what we can do better, and we're adjusting as we go. So as everybody has already presented already, we're utilizing our website, Connect Ed, emails, calls, letters, home visits, social media, Zoom presentations. We've done Zoom presentations about therapy, how to use therapists, how to find a therapist, how to evaluate therapists, because we're seeing more and more anxiety. My wife is a private therapist, and almost all of her clients are kids with anxiety. So we understand that. We are giving the resources to the parents, to the kids. We are operating with the understanding that we know kids are having anxiety, parents are having anxiety, and we have to adjust, and we've been adjusting, and we've learned a great deal from that. Our CST, our child study teams, has been a huge focus and a huge shift in what we do. We are communicating more with teachers. We're learning more from teachers. We're getting more communication back and forth, and we're finding different ways to reach kids that may be E&L, may be special education, who all have different needs in a virtual world and a hybrid world. As we all know, we're working in two different worlds in the educational field, and we have different needs in those realms. So being transparent, being empathetic, and being very attentive are things that we've learned through this process. Creating new ways to build school spirit, pride, and culture. What we have learned, like everybody has already presented, we're working with an entire school community. And that's never been more apparent than everything we've been through. Like Dr. Reggio said when she started the presentation, okay? It's all about genuine interest and inquiry, being vulnerable and approachable as administration, with our staff, with our parents, and most especially with our students, making every effort to provide any kind of comfort whenever we can. Going back to what I started with, everybody is struggling, some extreme struggles, and everywhere in between. And we have to be attentive. We have to provide comfort. We have to do anything we can at any time to adjust, to be flexible, to be understanding, to change protocols, to change procedures, as long as we're doing it in a safe manner. Okay. It brings me to the quote or the thought that students don't care what you know until they know that you care. And ultimately, that is what we have figured out more than ever, is this is a caring community. We are going more and more in that direction, and that will be our focus moving forward. So we'll continue to be positive messaging. We'll continue the communication. We'll continue to find ways to invest kids, parents, staff, and the whole school community in activities. Like Ms. Fabian mentioned, the video that the students made over the vacation, for the most part, for the East Moriches visitation, which is now virtual, was a 6-minute video that changed my perspective once again and raised the bar of Center Moriches students. When I got through that, I hadn't seen it. I wasn't involved in it. The kids, I gave them some concepts and they ran with it. And when the first student said, "We are family," and then it continued, I had chills up and down my arms, because that's what it all meant. That is when I know we had the successes we want to have as a district and as a school community. That's what kids feel, even in the worst of circumstances. So all these opportunities are easily continued in our protocols moving forward into future years. The need for human connection and a united Center Moriches was never more apparent now, and we are thrilled to be able to use what we learned through this ordeal to create greater systems in the future. So with that, I will pass it off to Dr. Becerra.
Dr. Becerra, you're muted.
It's my first time on a Zoom, and I've trying to figure well, thank you, Jeremy. And I want to say thank you to the entire administrative team for their help with this presentation, including Ricardo, Reina, and Kerry as well. This really is a total team effort to try to put something together and be reflective on a challenging year. But clearly that's how we approached it. We looked at these challenges and we found opportunities to do our jobs the best we could for the children of Center Moriches. And that went down to the teachers who went above and beyond all of our expectations to really carry it further. So that really has been extraordinary. And so, what does it look like moving forward? This is a very different year in terms of, typically we would talk about what our academic program is going to look like for the next year, what we're striving for, and our goals for our budget. And so that's where I'm landing here. And basically this idea that, excellence, equity, and empowerment. Excellence is a product we want to put out for our kids. We want to create unparalleled opportunities for them to challenge themselves and provide the best possible education we could. In terms of equity, we want that to be the same. We want the same opportunities to exist for every child in our school community. And that might look different for different individuals and different children, but we want it all to be equitable, and we want to provide opportunities for everyone to exceed and approach excellence. And then in terms of empowerment, when I think of empowerment, I think of this idea that we want to develop students, we want to develop a sense of agency in students, and then we want them to take control over their learning. So if they can become self-directed learners, we know we have accomplished, they have figured out the secret of life, that they are in the driver's seat for their entire life, and they can make decisions and choices that are going to only improve their lives. And so that's sort of a focus for 21-22, the idea of empowerment, equity, and excellence. And so our goal is to basically apply the lessons that we learned through the course of this pandemic to improve our overall program, the supports we offer, and the opportunities for children. When we think about it, we talk about this idea getting back in September. We need to be 100% in-person instruction and co-curricular offerings. That's what we're planning for. Last year, we said we were planning for something that we really were uncertain what it might look like. And that turned into the hybrid model we currently have. What we're planning for next year is something very different. We're planning for a new and improved education at Center Moriches from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. And we are going to be taking the lessons we learned. We're not going to forget about all that technology that we learned, because as Dennis talked about, the ability to utilize technology for formative assessment so that we better understanding where kids are, so that we can enhance the kind of personalized instruction. Those are the kinds of things that are powerful, and be able to use those technology resources in ways that prior to last year, prior to March of 2020, many of our teachers didn't even realize what was capable with the technology. And so that idea that we've shifted more over the course of this year than we have in 100 years in education, I believe wholeheartedly that we have shifted the paradigm, and we are going to come back stronger and better than ever. We want to continue our focus on diversity, equity, and inclusivity. That we set that as a board goal. We wrote it into one of our board goals, and that is clearly something that our entire community recognizes is so important right now. And finally, the idea of a holistic approach, looking at the social emotional piece as well as the academic. We need to balance academic, social, and emotional learning for all kids to ensure their well-being. And we know that students who are comfortable in their social and emotional setting can achieve much higher than kids who are struggling. And Courtney talked a little bit about the hierarchy of needs, right? And if you are not feeling safe, whether it's physical, social, or emotional, you're worried about things that if you're worried about those things, you cannot achieve to your potential. So, I just want to conclude by saying that, we are planning, to take everything we've learned over the course of these last, 11 months now, roughly 10 and a half, 11 months. We're taking all of those lessons learned, the challenges we face, the opportunities that we found in those challenges, and all of the lessons learned to provide the highest quality education we can for children in the 2021-2022 school year. And that's where we're headed. And so in our budget process, we're going to be leading with that kind of a philosophy and trying to put together, a program and a budget that is going to support a program that really can do excellent things for kids, and at a cost that our taxpayers can really get behind and afford, just like they did last year. So I thank you all for listening and tuning in. I think we had over 40 people in the presentation that stuck with us, which I think is a really great number. But George, I don't know if the board had any questions or anything like that.
No, I don't, Ron. I thought that was a pretty thorough presentation and we do appreciate it. I don't know if the rest of the board has anything. I can't see them all. No?
Oh, I'm good. That was a great job. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all. And thank you to the
Thank
team.
you.
Great job, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so that brings us to questions and comments regarding tonight's agenda only. So this is the opportunity for persons who wish to speak or have written letters regarding topics included on this agenda. And just to remind everybody, there will be a public session, right? A more general question session at the end of the meeting as well. So if you have something about this agenda, I guess same type of thing, Bill. They're going to use the handwriting, hand
Yes.
raising.
That's correct. I'm gonna open one up now. There is Danielle. I'm gonna promote her to panelist.
That me? Did I unmute?
Yes, Danielle, you're here.
Okay, I couldn't figure out which Danielle it was. First of all, Happy New Year, everybody. I'm not sure if this is, I'm a little confused by the format, so I'm just gonna basically say what I came to say and ask my question. First and foremost, I would like to say that the high school teachers have been incredible in everything that they've done and all the extra time and effort that they've put out with all the students, extra help, they're always accessible to everyone, questions. So I just want to commend them on that. That being said, I have a 12th grader and a 9th grader, and I'm just questioning where we go from here. I'm really excited for the elementary school kids that they get to go back full-time end of this month, I think. So I'm really happy for them, but I just want to know what the plan is. And I know in the beginning and at the end of last year, people felt that as far as high schoolers go, it was okay for them to be hybrid and virtual. And I do get the difference between elementary school, with babysitting needs and being taught. It is a totally different thing. But I have a senior who's taking AP Chem and calculus, and there is no substitute for in-person learning. As much extra help as they give, it's just she's struggling. And she's a kid that cares about her grades, as do most of her peers. So I just want to know, are we even thinking about where we are going forward for our high schoolers, and if not the whole school. I do have a 9th grader and she has 3 more years, but having a senior, can we bring back our 131 seniors? Is there anything that's in the works for that? I'm just curious.
Yeah, we had done a I guess a presentation maybe at the last board meeting, conversation about some of those ideas, and there is conversation. However, there also is the reality of the numbers spiking in Suffolk County, and the fact that the CDC really has not changed any of the guidance with regard to 6 feet social distance recommendations, and our Department of Health stands very firmly behind that. So we are at those kinds of things are at odds. We toward the tail end of this, we've actually prepared an entire discussion on this. So like if you can hang in for that, because there's really actually a part of the agenda where we're going to talk through all of the things that we investigated and what those things would mean for us. But otherwise, if you can't hang in for that, you could also just, give me a call and we could talk it out in person. But I would say we'll probably get to that spot in about 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, I can hang on for that.
okay,
So there is a plan then for,
we're going to talk through all of those issues. We're going to talk through what the elementary looks like and where we're at with the high school stuff as well. Yep.
okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, let me just take her off
They're gonna take me off.
and change role. Okay. I don't see any other hands raised.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I got to reopen my agenda.
Mhm.
The Board of Ed is asked to accept the minutes of the following meetings as prepared by the district clerk. Minutes of the meeting of the Board of Education on December 16th, 2020. Motion,
Motion.
second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes, motion
Yes.
carries unanimously. Janine, I'll do the financial reports and then you could start with the consent.
Perfect, yep.
Okay. Be resolved that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, accepts the following financial reports. Budget transfers, 2 pages. Internal claims audit report, December 2020. Motion,
Motion.
second.
Second.
All in favor? Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Consent agenda, a vote. Be it resolved, a motion to approve the consent agenda, asterisk agenda items are consent agenda items. Consent agenda items are approved via a single vote unless they are removed from being a consent item prior to vote.
Motion,
Motion.
second. Second?
Second.
All-
Second.
All in favor? Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries
George,
unanimously.
can I just make a quick comment on Bill Rosado?
I was just going to do the same, Tom. Go ahead.
He's been with us for, I think, since 1986. It was 35 years.
Wow.
Wow.
He was someone I had the pleasure of working with for 15 years and just, a great employee. And just want to thank him for his dedicated service to the district over those 35 years. And also, a little side note, his dad was a custodian before him who retired from the district. So
Stealing all my thunder. You're stealing my thunder, Tom. That's great though, Tom. You know what? Better that you who worked with him can sing his praises, because I think it's wonderful. Janine had helped me dig out some personnel stuff because we thought like, hey, you know what? Let's dig down and see what this looked like. But yeah, Bill was hired. I have an appointment from 1986 for his.
We're spot on there.
You were spot on, Tom. You sure were. And so Bill was hired. I don't want to disclose any confidential personnel information, but it was less than $5 an hour. when you think about it, right? And in the appointment letter from Frank Genovese, it says, "I would like to appoint a young man named William Rosado. His father currently works for us and has been with us since 1980. If young Bill is anything like his father, he should be an asset to our department." So those are words from way back when he got it. And I can tell you that, in just going through the personnel file, everything he's ever gotten was either, superior, talking about his dependability, talking about him as a teammate and a team player, all those kinds of commendations for the teamwork. So, just, a great deal of thanks, for Bill, for many, many years of service to Center Moriches, an unsung hero.
I'm going to miss those battles, but he's a diehard Yankee fan, I'm a diehard Met fan. We went at it many years going at it with him. So I definitely will miss Bill. He's been definitely an asset to the district. So thanks, Bill.
Well, congratulations to Bill, and very well said by both of you. And Tom, thank you for recognizing him, probably as knew him best. So thank you so much for that. And thank you, Bill, if you're listening, for your dedicated years of service.
Thank you.
And that brings us to discussion item, reopening discussion.
Okay, so it didn't even take 20 minutes. That's a good thing. All right, so we are I guess we'll talk about the high school first, and as I'm doing that, maybe Bill, if you could promote Dennis again, because we're going to have Dennis come in and talk a little bit about some of the elementary things that are happening, the timeline there. And
Sure.
any kind of clarification we might need for that.
Okay.
So, we've investigated a number of things with regard to, bringing back our high school students, and keep in mind our hybrid plan was put in place, early on. We had even gotten criticisms for doing the AA Wednesday off BB model. And what we found was that, by doing that and coming in with the lower density, we have not had, and I'm going to knock on some wood here, we have not had a significant quarantine on our secondary campus, meaning where we would have to quarantine multiple people. Just today, we had a second quarantine at the elementary school, where we have quarantined 2 whole elementary classes, one prior and one today, a 4th grade class. And when you have to quarantine at the elementary, at most you're impacting 25 children, and then those affected staff members. The first one was about 25 kids and 8 staff members. Today's was 24 children and 4 staff members. So that makes it difficult, right? Because if you lose your special area teachers, because of a close contact, that makes it difficult to run your school. If this happens in a secondary school, in a high school, what essentially happens is you have to multiply the close contacts. If you're in, because we're only at 50%, we have enough space that we don't have to count kids as close contacts, and we haven't had to quarantine. And with multiple days where we don't have, if we have a kid that's in on a Monday, Tuesday, but doesn't come down with symptoms till a Friday, the close contact investigation does not warrant anything further all the way back to Tuesday. So we have not had to quarantine in those circumstances. And that's important. It's an important distinction, because if we have to do close contact in the high school setting, and we had full density, what would essentially happen is it wouldn't just be the 20 kids in one class, it would be that times 9. And so depending upon who they travel with, obviously electives could be multiple grade levels and things like that. There's the potential to have upwards of a couple hundred kids be quarantined from one positive case. And that's problematic. And we had one district on the island, and just recently they were looking to bring back their secondary kids back full time, and they had to shut the school down for a week. In the first week when they opened, and that's difficult, because if you have a situation where every teacher that's in contact with those kids has to quarantine, you're potentially taking out all of the content area specialists there. And how do you run a school when you don't have the staff? So there's a lot of problematic stuff that happens. And right now, with the fact that we have infection rates above 9% in Suffolk County, we are seeing an uptick in cases without a question of a doubt. But we did try to investigate some ways that we could potentially be much more creative in bringing kids back. And so one of the things we looked at was basically, we could forego the CDC guidance and say that, kids are going to be 3 feet apart in classes. I'm not comfortable doing that. And that recommendation will not come from me as a superintendent, because I just, in my heart of hearts, I never know, we never know how this virus is going to react with anybody's immune system. And that's to be told. I have we all know people that have been impacted. We've all been to, or at least been told of funerals of people that we know, that died because of this disease. And we are seeing, more younger kids get it as well. So lots of issues. But clearly there are things that we could try, right? So one of the things we could try is try to do some kind of a split schedule and bring kids back in the afternoon. So you have the white cohort in the morning, the red cohort in the afternoon. But there's a lot of costs that would be associated with something like that. And every dollar we spend here, knowing how tight our budget is, knowing that CPI came in at 1.23% this year, knowing that our tax rate's going to be low, knowing that it's going to be a tough budget cycle, if we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars here, we will not have those to refund our fund balances or our reserves. And we run the risk of having to make bigger cuts into next year when we are fully operational, when we're planning on being fully operational. So, Carrie, do you want to go through some of those costs with the idea of, sort of running a split schedule and what that would mean?
Sure. So if we were going split session, there's a lot of variables that come into play with that. Never mind actually a complete master schedule rework, most likely. We would have to hire additional teaching staff because we have multiple teachers that teach multiple grade levels. They're teaching across 6 through 12. In addition, and when you're doing a split session, you're running school now from, let's say, 7 a.m. till 4 or 5 p.m. So you're going to have to negotiate that with your teachers and all your other staff and collective bargaining agreements that you have in place. But if let's say we had to hire 8 additional teachers just to cover from what we believe at this point are some overages that are being shared between buildings, you're looking at almost $300,000. And that would be from February 1 to the end of the school year. We'd have to hire at least one more custodial staff member to help with the cleaning and the disinfecting between cohorts or the groups that are coming in. So that would be about another $30,000. We'd have to get more monitors to help manage the transitions, and we'd have monitors working in the morning session and monitors working in the afternoon session. We would need additional security personnel, which could be almost $13,000 to $15,000. Again, we would need some for the morning session. We would need some for midday for when they're transitioning, and we would need an afternoon session. Transportation, in speaking with our transportation company, we were looking at this and saying, okay, what are we looking at buses wise? How many more hours are we adding to our routes? And it turns out we would be adding 3 additional hours per bus due to the cleaning protocols that we have in place that would have to happen between the sessions. So we would have to hire the drivers for 3 more hours in order to clean their buses in between sessions, and then the cleaning at the end of the day. You're looking at about $375,000 for that. So all in, just to do a split session, we're talking about $700,000 to implement something like that. Obviously, cost prohibitive. It would eat into any potential savings that we could see for this year, which will hurt us, as Dr. Massaro was saying, next year. Our goal is to repay back the reserves we used this year to help our budget. And that was about just over $800,000. So spending $700,000 when we could possibly save that $700 to pay that back, it could hurt us in the future, not just next year, but in years down the road as we're looking long term.
So that's obviously, that'd be a very costly proposal to do something like that. We also examined, well, what would it take to try to put, some kind of portables up or something like that. And, we really discovered that, like the lead time, we wouldn't be able to get those things in place in time. And the costs would be, prohibitive on that too, because it would be several $100,000, even if we wanted to just put portables in place. One of the, so it was a split session. It was the idea of trying to create additional instructional space through modular classrooms, which we discovered we would really not be able to do. We also looked at our room utilizations, and what the idea is, and so one of the questions came up about getting the high school seniors back. And that was one of the things that we talked about, was like, hey, we'd love to do that because it's their last opportunity here. We certainly don't have enough space, and I'm going to let Raina talk to that in a little bit, to bring back everybody. Like the St. Anthony's model people talk about. What happens is the kids come into class, and half of the kids go to the classroom, half of the kids go to their gymnasium track area and sit and learn virtually on their laptops, but they're in school. And so do we have spaces where we could say, all right, the white cohort's going to one location, the red cohort's going to another? And the reality is we don't. We just don't have the ability to bring all those kids back. So one of the creative ideas we had was, well, if we could, how would we prioritize and who would we bring back? Might we be able to do that with just our seniors and say that there's enough spaces that our seniors could go to, alternative spots for classes that are too full to maintain social distancing. So that was one thing we examined, and I'm going to allow Raina to talk a little bit about the room utilization and the analysis we did of that. So Raina, thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, so our room utilization at the secondary campus is very full. It ranges anywhere from middle school is about 93%, high school is about 91% overall. And that includes some of our large instructional spaces. And there are multiple periods where there is not a single space, in a single open space. Especially this year, typically, you'd have your gym say open first period, or at least part of the gym open first period, and we're using our gymnasium for band rehearsals so we can properly socially distance. We're using our part of our middle school gym for our cafeteria so we can alternate cleaning the cafeteria and those spaces. One of our larger classes, or two of our larger classes, are actually being held in the LGI. So because their original classroom where they were placed was not going to be big enough to properly socially distance. So, our facility limitations is definitely a challenge in terms of trying to consider bringing students back in and still maintaining social distance within the classroom. There are some periods where there might be one classroom space open between the middle school and high school altogether. So if we scrutinize the schedule and perhaps look at one grade level, we have talked about the seniors as a priority since it is their last year. Could we find a way to take our largest classrooms that cannot, largest capacity classrooms that cannot socially distance, and perhaps find a place for them if you split them, or if you had just a larger space where they could socially distance. If you try to split that class, keep in mind that you would need another instructor for that separate section, or at least someone there supervising, if you went with the model that Dr. Massara mentioned in terms of, being in school, but participating, on a laptop. So, our facilities, our room utilization is packed. It's definitely a significant part of the challenge in terms of trying to bring back more students at the secondary campus.
So those are a lot of the challenges we face. We did also look into the barriers that we put up in the elementary school, and the barriers, we're using those at the elementary school, but we were also able to attain 6 feet in the elementary by removing every piece of furniture and creating sort of communal spaces where teachers stored all their instructional resources. And that was quite a task. And what we find when we walk through the elementary school is that, kids in the back, they're really learning on they're looking through 4 or 5 pieces of plexiglass to see the teacher. And, that's a challenge, it's really not what we have come used to in education. They're distanced in such a way that it's unusual, but thank goodness our kids are so resilient, and they're so, when we started over the summer, we thought about this idea of having to have all these mask breaks because kids would not, and they just they really don't even need mask breaks because they're so used to wearing them in their lives these days. It's extraordinary how adaptive they've become. But in terms of the high school, even if we were to put barriers down, that the health department does not say that barriers are protective in terms of eliminating a 6-foot social distancing. So we could spend $70,000 on adding barriers. But keep in mind, we are changing classes every period. They wouldn't be wiped down, and we wouldn't have the wherewithal to be able to wipe those down in between periods. So I'm not sure what we really would accomplish there. If we increased our density, clearly that we would want an extra layer of protection, but we would need to also expend another $70,000 to do that, and it wouldn't help with quarantines and necessarily enhancing safety so much. So, that's kind of where we're at with the high school and some of the challenges we're faced with. I don't know if the board has any specific questions or comments with regard to that.
Sorry, I need to.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got something else popping up on my computer here. I don't know what's going on. So the first thing that I want to say is, and I'm going to speak on behalf of myself, and certainly in my conversations with Ron, and I do have experiences in the secondary school. So many of the things that you're saying are true, and everything is a struggle, right? Every decision we make, we're trying to make it for what's the best for the safety and health of not just our students, primarily our students, but also our staff members as well. And I see in the comments, and I can hear Danielle's voice, the struggle to want your child back into school, especially seniors that are missing some of these milestones that, for lack of a better word, have been promised to them for the last 11 or 12 years, right? Kind of the bargain. Even just going and sitting when you're a senior in the microwave the last couple of weeks of school, something like that I know the children enjoy some of that downtime, and it's heartbreaking to know that we can't give them these moments as a group, with the group that they came up for 11 years. But the difficulty is, and the reality is, that we cannot keep them 100% safe with the facilities that we have unless we break the recommendations of the CDC and the health department. And it's not something that I'm willing to do either. I have a high school daughter, and I would love nothing more for her to be out of the house 5 days a week and up at the school building. But I don't know. I'm not comfortable trading their health and safety, putting that at risk for that. I also am concerned. Ron, you and I had talked about continuity. So if we're hybrid and we continue with our protocols and they're working, we know the children are getting 5 days every 2 weeks. But if we wind up with a quarantine situation where we have to quarantine over 150 students, now they're out for 2 weeks. And, they come back, say it can't happen again. So now we're looking at providing them even less time with their peers and with their teachers. So every decision that's being made is being made with careful consideration. And I don't know what else to say. I know it's probably not going to be things that people want to hear, and I don't want to hear it myself, but it's the reality of the situation that we're in right now. We continue to have conversations. We continue to explore ways to get them back in. And the second that we think we have something that is viable, that continues to keep everybody safe, we will certainly move on it. I don't know if anybody else on the board has anything to add.
Yeah, I would just, I guess I have not a question, but just a comment for Ron. And Raina did a very good job of explaining the utilization issue that we have in really finding the space for more students. But maybe Ron, if you have anything to add based on your experience, what you're seeing out there in other districts, a lot of secondary campuses are huge in some of these districts that are trying to get everybody back in. Santa Moriches, we're a small district. Is there anything you can tell us maybe to bring this a little bit down to earth so it's clear why we have this capacity limitation?
Well, I think that, clearly, there was an effort to provide some expansion on the high school. And that's because, there are districts where and especially actually in recent years because of declining enrollment. We've seen districts sell off buildings and things like that. We've seen buildings, there are a couple districts that open closed buildings to basically have more space, if they own those properties. And so, you can't speak to, and that's why, like, I remember saying it early on in the planning that, like, I can't be comparing myself to other districts because I have to worry about what our facilities look like. And what our capacity issues look like. There are districts that teachers don't move. Teachers stay in their classroom all day long and they don't have to share their space with anybody else. That's not us. There's a different teacher in our classroom every period of day. Sometimes, or there are at least while the teachers might be in there all day long, there are other teachers in there on their off periods teaching. And that's what that space utilization means. So, no, like declining enrollment, in terms of St. Moriches, even though we've seen declining enrollment, we haven't seen it to the degree that some other places have where they're, they've got the space potentially.
I mean, I know that building very well. I mean, we've utilized every inch of that over the last 10 years, whether it was using part of the boiler room, making a classroom out of it, using certain areas, used every inch of that place. So they're really, as Ron's saying, there's not a lot of space. I mean, and you know better than me than the scheduling, if there's a way you can manage and shift things around, but if there, space-wise, there isn't.
Yeah, and we repurposed, a faculty office. I mean, this year, which was
we took back a classroom. Yeah.
We took back to get a larger classroom space. And it's true, we use our library. And that's, even in a typical year, there could be a class or two, a business class that needs a computer lab. We use that library and the computer lab. So there could be potentially, in a typical year, 2 classes in the library. This year, obviously, for social distance reasons, there would be 1. So it's interesting. The recommendation at the state level in terms of capacity is, somewhere between 80 and 85%, so room utilization. And the reason for that recommendation is so you have flexibility in your facilities. And I think, even with our enrollment at the elementary level, it will probably bring us to that recommendation. It will never be where we can, with our current facilities, it will never be, we won't really be able to stretch our arms out. It'll normalize to that 80-85%.
Raina, are we above, when we're at full capacity at the secondary campus, are we above that 85% number?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
We're well above
Yeah, I mean, in the past few years, we've been, some periods are 100%, middle school and high school. Overall, we're 91 at the high school and 93% at the middle school. We've been as high as 95% overall, in the last few years. Our science rooms especially are because you have to be in a science room for those classes. And I would say, and Marissa and Jeremy could probably jump in on this too. I would say probably 80% of our teachers, I mean, everyone shares, but probably 80% of our teachers physically move. Like we might have a handful of teachers that are only in, say, room 200, but the majority of our teachers are at least in 2 or 3 classrooms moving to make sure
How many students are remote in the secondary campus?
I actually have.
We have a chart.
Yeah, I have to. I guess I must have shut it. I'm gonna. Hold on 1 second. I created a.
We're looking for that, Ron. I think Robin had something she wanted to ask. Robin?
Yeah, go ahead. As I'm looking, I can share that number with you.
I was just curious, we talked about the high school, we talked about the whole middle school facility, but I mean, the whole campus up there, but we didn't really talk much about the middle school. I think that, have we looked at, grouping it differently so the kids don't move? Have we looked at all that? I don't know how big the actual class sizes are and the classrooms, but I know, in those grade levels, at least those kids can stay in a room and not move as opposed to high school. But I just don't know how many kids per class we have and if it's even possible.
We did look at that in the beginning of scheduling, and the issue really was that like those, it wouldn't be, say, the entire second period would not necessarily all move together. So there would still be movement.
No, what I mean was the kids literally stay in the same room and the teachers come in and out period by period.
But because the kids don't follow, like, say you have a set of sixth graders, second period, and they go to ELA. They don't all follow the same schedule. So if the teacher changes, the kids still have to move.
So we would have to redo the whole schedule. In order for that to happen,
Right.
we would have
And
to
it
set
would
up kids
have to
back.
work. Like there's a reason why the kids don't all move together, you know, in that one cohort, you know, because they might have, you know, even in sixth grade, they might have an AIS component that changes up the dynamic of their schedule. And in eighth grade, especially where there's, you know, you have the option in science and option in math, like those kids, they don't all share the same pattern throughout their day.
So Robin, if I could jump in for a second, the middle school is a lot more group scheduling versus the high school, which is a lot more individualized in terms of scheduling platform that you create. But there is still some movement, as Raina indicated. So it would be hard to do what you're asking, because essentially for that second period, which is the first period of the middle school day, there is quite a bit of movement. So you do have kids that may start the period together, but they may go to 4 different locations.
And we did look at that, and we spoke to some other schools that say they tried to keep, you know, the kids in a classroom, and what was happening. So the teacher would go to leave, and then half the kids would leave with the teacher, and the teacher said, "Wait, I thought you guys were staying." And they said, "Yeah, but we have algebra." And then, but those kids have geometry. They have to move. So that's it. They tried it out, but once they put it in, they realized they had more movement than they planned for or really wanted to. So they wound up moving anyway.
So in essence, all the kids in eighth grade, all the kids would have to, right, all the kids would have to take earth science, and all the kids would have to take algebra 1 in order for that to kid. I
Exactly.
gotcha.
They have to move in a cohort within a cohort.
Got it. Okay.
So to answer Danielle's question, you know, in terms of the numbers on paper, we have 79% at present, 79% of the middle school students are in person, and 81% of the high school students are in person. Now, the reality is we're seeing something a little bit different because, you know, and again, you know, because we are live synchronous, and I think that there's some additional fears out there. We're not seeing that many, you know, we're seeing less than that actually come in. I think that people want to make sure that they have an opportunity to come in person, but because of the rising numbers, when you're in double-digit infection rates in a county, I think that people are starting to say, well, hey, you know what, I think I'll just keep my kid home, and especially around the holidays. So we did see, you know, a significant decline in the in-person and, you know, actual attendance in the middle school and high school over the past week and a half.
Okay.
Ron, what would the percentage have to be then of kids staying home to bring the other kids back in?
Yeah.
Like if we went full time, do we think more kids would opt to stay home because of that fear? You know, which does make sense. What is that kind of break number? Do we know?
But the problem is, you know, we can't, you know, we put in place where we said, hey, you know, you have to, if you're going to home, you have to be home for the quarter, right? But if we say we're going, you know, we're coming back full, we can't turn people away. You know, we're going to have to allow everybody to come back. And so it's almost impossible to figure out what that could be, because people might run away, but people might come back. So I don't know. You know, I mean, you know, right now it's 50%, you know, I mean, that's what works for us in terms of the capacity to keep 6 feet, because we can really only get in those high school classrooms, and especially those science rooms that have like all the furniture. It's like, you know, 12, maybe 15 seats at most. I think, or at 12 or 14, I think was the most seats we can get into those classrooms. So a challenge. You know, every classroom we had to space out and figure out what could we do, how many seats could we get in there, you know.
Any other questions or thoughts? Ron, I'm
I don't
sorry,
know.
cut you off.
No, you didn't,
I-
you didn't cut me off. We do have some questions from.
Well, Danielle, I think Danielle has.
Oh, okay.
The only other thing I was thinking is that, like it does say that, with your numbers, we're 79% middle school, 81% high school. And I guess we're 90% capacity at the high school, 91 or 93. What if we did a survey for the next quarter to see who would be willing to send their kids in full time, and go from there? I mean, I don't know if that's something that we should consider too. I don't know.
Yeah, I actually, George and I had that conversation, and part of the problem with that is, we can't compel people to complete, and our survey results were, we're
Yeah,
not
I
even
know.
above 50% on that, and so sometimes it's, it doesn't give us the information we really need to get that done. So that was one drawback. We certainly could try it, Danielle. It's a great idea, in concept, but I'm struggling with, are we going to get real meaningful information out of that? That's going to actually help us plan. But we certainly could try it.
Okay, thanks.
So there are a couple hands up, before we go to the, elementary school.
Oh, okay. So you want to,
Yeah.
that's
Maybe-
fine.
I'll promote Christine to panelist, and Christine Buff, if you could just unmute, and then you'll be a panelist. You can ask your question. Or comment.
Hi, good evening, everybody.
Hi.
Danielle, thank you for asking that question about the survey. Ron, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I feel like I know of so many people and families that are so desperate to get their kids back in school full time that if, my boys are telling me there's 6 kids in one of their classrooms in the red cohort, and if you're saying the capacity is 12 to 14, if you did a survey, you're sending out surveys all the time. If you did a survey and said you need to commit third quarter, what would you do? And get a real answer. You might, even if it's third quarter, get these kids who want to be in school and parents are happy to have them there, the opportunity to get there. They are literally, I can't even begin to tell you. I mean, whatever, I say a question every time I call. It's very difficult for my 14-year-old children to be home. They're playing video games all day. While they're on a Google Meet, that they're not even required to leave their cameras on anymore, or never was. And that is very hard for me. They're not being held accountable, even though they're being held accountable. So I just feel like if you truly push out a survey and get a real answer, and if they don't give you an answer, then they stay where they are. They're currently, if they're home, they're home. If they don't give you an answer by a certain day, then you default to what their current situation is. But my kids are like, Mom, there's 4 kids in my French class, and I'm like, oh my goodness. Granted, it's French and maybe that's not as big of a class, but they just need to be in school. And maybe you could just try a survey. I mean, we're getting surveys all the time, and I just feel like this would be one that everybody would do. I mean, that maybe everyone can completely decide on their own, but my kids would like to be there. I don't know. I guess I'm done.
Listen,
I'm
Christine,
sorry.
I'm with you. I mean, I've said it. I learned a lot from my own kids. I have an 11th grader too, and I'm in the the same struggle as you with that. But yeah, so we could put together a survey and see what we get from it, and I'm happy to do that. I just we want
Okay.
to make informed decisions. So
It's a great idea, right? And it is a great idea, but the concern
Are
is
you hearing the flute? I'm so sorry. You probably hear
the concern is that we're not going to get the meaningful information that we need.
the.
But it's absolutely 100% worth the try and worth
It's a Google form. A yes, no. What do you commit to? I mean, dear God, I'll do the form for you. I do them all day at work. I work at Hop Hog, and we are there every day. And there's, I'm not even joking. There's over 100 cases that have been reported in the last 4 days, but we're still there. And that's why I'm drowning. Anyway,
Understood.
that's all I have to say.
Well, thank you so much. We always appreciate hearing from everybody. We really do. So thank you
Please
very
do
much.
survey. Please do survey.
Okay.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. We have more, Ron?
Yeah, we do. Michelle Mitchell. Miss Mitchell?
Did you promote her?
I did, yeah.
Oh, there she is.
Got to unmute, that's all. Hello, Miss Mitchell?
Hi, sorry, the computer just cut out.
Got it.
It's Kayla, by the way.
Oh, hi, Kayla.
Hi. So for most of you know me, I'm a senior that goes to Center Moriches, and tonight, actually, it's funny that this comes up. I won the Student of the Month award for being open-minded, and I think that I'm really trying my best this year to be open-minded with everything that's going on. But I have to say, like, there is such a learning curve with being half at home and half in person. And I understand the thing with the capacity of, the kids, of what you're saying. And I know that it's hard because I have my AP government class has 3 to 4 people in person, but I have a Spanish class with 15 people in person. But I do feel though, as if, last year, a lot of drastic measures and stuff and whatever were taken for the seniors. And I just feel like there's kind of a disconnect with what's trying to be done for the seniors. I'm not asking to be handed anything on a silver platter, but I do have to say, like, it's just truly, it's kind of heartbreaking, honestly. Like, it really does hurt. I go to track practice and I sit there and watch 2 cohorts practice. We're together, but like separate. And it's just, I know that everyone, all the teachers and the staff are going through the same thing. I just personally feel like there could be more things being done and maybe more of an effort, at least to get the seniors back. It's just hard to see over Long Island, every school is doing something different. I talk to kids that go back like fully on time, like every single day. And it's just hard. And if you looked into truly how many kids actually go into school that are signed up to go to school, I guarantee you it'll be less than the number. I know so many seniors that decided, you know what, second quarter, I'm going to go back every single day because it's important for me to go back to school. But going back to school fully, in your cohort, I have one friend that I maybe see throughout the day. And I know that's why a lot of kids are staying home also. So I just wanted to say that I think there could be more things done for the seniors. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Kayla.
Yeah, Kayla, thank you so much for speaking up. We really appreciate that. Means a lot to hear from the kids. And we're going to continue to keep looking at all these things. All right. I have to. All right. Is she still on there, Bill, or?
I can take her.
All right, I can move her out, and then I'll move the next person in. Change role to attendee. All right, we have okay, there's a couple more hands here. Danielle, I'm gonna move Danielle, promote you to panelist, and you can unmute, please. You there, Danielle?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I
great.
just had one thing to add. I think you guys misunderstood me. I do totally appreciate keeping our kids safe. And I think that should be a top priority, as well as all the teachers who we care about. My question really was, obviously January and February are probably going to be critical months. Is there a plan down the road? Like, when do we decide that it would be okay to bring the kids back? That's more of what I was saying. Like, maybe not necessarily right now, January and February. And most people, there's so many people now that I know that have COVID that didn't have it. So that's more of what I was saying, not necessarily doing it right now. Or are we saying that they're not coming back at all this year? That's more of my question.
Yeah, Danielle, thanks for that. And I appreciate that clarification. I honestly, like, I think anybody on this board will tell you, like, and any of my administrators will tell you, any good idea I'm willing to explore. I am not, I'm not closed-minded to these things. Right now, we're in the middle of a vaccinate. Well, we're in the middle of chaos for a vaccination rollout.
Right.
But hey, these things help and these things change, right? We're trying to do our best to educate about this and see what that looks like as this moves forward, and continue to create a safer environment through vaccination. I don't know what it's going to look like in March. I'd like to think that last year we saw as the weather improved, the cases dropped significantly, right? And
Right.
so I'm taking the guidance. I can assure you, I'm in touch with the Suffolk County Department of Health way more than I'm sure they like or I like. I'm really I'm either texting or on the phone with them literally every day, and that's 6 or 7 days a week. So I am plugged into that network, and I am trying to really understand what we're up against with all this.
I just wanted to really make sure that it wasn't written off for the whole year. And
No,
George is
no,
right.
It's not.
It is very emotional, especially, my 9th grader has like 3 more years left, but as a senior, and George is right, it's like so many milestones that they'll miss, but really, and everyone is struggling, but like a lot of these kids are depressed and have anxiety, and it's just sad. It's really
Yeah.
sad right now.
Absolutely.
Danielle, so thank you. And I do want to say that if you felt like I implied you weren't concerned about safety, I didn't mean to.
No, that's not what I meant. I just wanted to clarify what I meant.
You're right. So everybody is concerned with health and safety, and I know that. And and unfortunately, there's other things, the fiscal things that we have to take into account as well. If you spin this out all the way to the end, and if we could get them in for 2 days in June, and that's all we can do, then we're doing it. So, as soon as we can find a viable path to getting everybody back into school in a way that makes sense, we're going to do it. And those are conversations that are happening all the time, right? That's the carrot at the end of the stick. I work in the school building as many other people do. And what you're saying, we're fully remote. I work from school, but fully remote on Wednesdays. And to walk into that building and not have children there, and going out in the hallways in between and not being able to see them and not having them in front of you, and it's a struggle. It's a struggle, and it's a struggle for everyone. And as soon as we can get them back, and those conversations are happening daily, I promise you, we will get them back in.
Okay, thank you guys.
You got it.
Thanks, Danielle.
Oh, I got a little close to the camera there. Sorry.
All right, so Bill, if you could move just in terms of time, I'll move
Sure.
Coonan in, and you could move
I'll
Danielle
move
out.
them out. Got it.
I'll move them in, you move them out.
Sounds like a plan.
Teamwork. Hey, Carrie. Carrie, you in? You just have to unmute, that's all.
I'm here, and Happy New Year. And it's nice to see you, Ron, and thank you. I'm a mom to a 7th grader who just transferred in this year. So obviously a lot of people on the phone tonight have some hardships. It's hard to be new, obviously, but she's really enjoyed her experience, and the teachers and the staff and the office and the admin and everybody's been amazing. And I think people don't hear that all the time. So kudos to all of you. Personally, working in education, it's, unpopular opinion, but really you've led a steadfast ship. I'm a mom. I want to see my kid in school, obviously, because that's best for her socially. But Center Moriches right now is one of the best records for health and safety. And I knock on wood when I say that for you here on the East End of Long Island. Working in education, I try to, these days say that I under promise and over deliver because it's safer that way. So I think knowing that our students are stuck in this very uncomfortable position and our staff are also stuck in this uncomfortable position. I mean, I'm an admin like you shared who's sanitizing tables and chairs, between classes, because that's what we're all doing these days. What has the conversation, what direction has the conversation gone in regarding use of lockers? I have a 75-pound daughter, and some days she looks like a Sherpa moving in and out of the hallways. I recognize, issues with hallway congestion and supervision, but, we've learned a lot in the last few months, and there's probably some way to make people comfortable during an uncomfortable time. Bringing back 100% capacity, again, unpopular opinion, but I don't think that's a realistic goal for this year, given where we are right now. But I think we can make people comfortable in an uncomfortable situation. And I know the last few meetings that was brought up by other parents, and I just wanted to see, where the conversation has gone, whether that means, it goes red, white, or, 6, 7, 8, red, white. Have we revisited that?
Yeah, now that's actually, Carrie, that's a good point, and that's something I'll definitely I'll bring that back to the team, because I think that maybe we can be a little bit creative. We could be restrictive in the times that that the lockers are used, but potentially create an opportunity maybe to do something with that and investigate a little bit further. So I will bring that back to the building level and have some conversation about that tomorrow at our administrative council meeting.
I would appreciate it. I just feel like I know my daughter's not the only one in that situation, and I know what realistically is not going to happen this year. I just think we can look at what things can happen. And kudos to Kayla, if she's still on the call. Like, what a great representative of a school. I think she's thinking of the same thing. She's in an uncomfortable situation, and as a student, she's advocating for what can be done. So, and kudos to everyone and all you've done to help Carly's transition be great. We're enjoying it.
Thanks, Carrie.
Thank you so much for your comments.
And I could tell you, I do relate to the Sherpa comment when I drop off my daughter with her lacrosse bag on one shoulder, her school bag on the other shoulder, and carrying a stick and walking into the school. It really is like nothing I've ever seen. And I know she's got to carry that all day long. So we'll look at it and see if we could do some stuff for our kids. All right, Bill, I'm going to let in Heather. I'm guessing maybe Heather McGill. And if you could.
While you're doing that.
What's that, Marcus?
While you're doing that, Ron, maybe just to follow up on that last question. Now that we're doing the one-to-one rollout with the Chromebooks, do we anticipate that will lighten the load at all for students in terms of not needing as many textbooks?
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so. So one word on that. And in terms of like one of the bright spots on this is we are going to have the consistency with a one-to-one Chromebook initiative. Initially we were pushing and saying that, hey, everybody's got to take one of our Chromebooks, but we did get some guidance on that. And basically we do have what is sort of like a declination form, because we still do need to have control over this, and we do need to be able to set some expectations and ensure that every child has device at home and in school. So as long as parents can meet that, they will be able to decline use of a Chromebook, because we can, still kind of control that environment. And so, Ricardo, maybe just touch base on the status of that and how it's going with this rollout, because we will be one-to-one 9-12, and then transitioning down when we get more Chromebooks.
I'm sorry. Is this? I kind of feel like we should finish the one
Okay
with the people.
Yeah, because I think that
this way Ricardo's not rushed, and we're keeping the same road here.
Okay, so I just promoted Heather to panelist. So Heather,
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. So just a quick question on the projection for the additional cost to run split sessions. Is that the entire secondary campus? Is that K to 12? 6 to 12?
Mm-hmm.
6 through 12.
6 through 12. Mm-hmm. Okay. And is there a way to break that down on what it would be if it were just 9 to 12?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'd almost be seeing the similar costs because the teachers are sharing teaching. So we looked at it various ways. What is it 6 through 12 with the red and white cohort? What is it if we did, let's say, the middle school kids in the morning and the high school kids in the afternoon, or vice versa? This way they could use the entire building. If they do that, there's going to be even that many more teachers would be needed. But it's total rework of the master schedule. So kids that have gotten familiar with a teacher at this point in time may have a different teacher if we do this. And now they have to refamiliarize themselves with the way they teach and get to know that person, and kind of disrupts, I think, the schedule maybe even a little bit more. I mean, I personally, as a parent, wouldn't want to see that for my child, who now 5 months in is comfortable and has learned how the process is working. And to disrupt that with their teacher would, I think, be hard, especially at the high school level with some of those subjects that they're learning. But so we've kind of looked at it in various ways. You know, let's just do it a red cohort, white cohort. Let's do it high school, middle school split session. We've kind of just been breaking it down. But as far as transportation goes, your split session, you're guaranteed that transportation cost because you have to clean the buildings. You're guaranteed that custodial cost because you got to clean the building. You know, all that additional staffing, I think, would occur no matter how we broke it down, if it was just one group or the other.
So if you did it, if it was red cohort, white cohort, you wouldn't have the master schedule issue?
No, we would. Well, because we would be then expecting teachers to teach a day beyond their normal workday right now. So you would be asking them to teach from 7 in the morning till 4 or 5 in the afternoon. You know, so it becomes a greater issue. We may have to get teachers to teach that second half of the day. So those are kind of the roadblocks that we would run into in order to implement something like that.
Okay. And then just quickly, have you frozen expenses for this year at
Yes,
this
we did
point?
that back in November.
And do you have your anticipated savings, what you believe will be your savings through the end of the year at this point in time?
So we're working through that now. We're just finishing up closing out the month of December, which gives us a pretty good look of the year. The next board meeting, the January 27th meeting, is when we'll start getting into the actual numbers for the budget process, and where we'll recap last year, where we landed, where we're looking at right now, as well as where we're looking into the future for the 4-year plan. So we'll start getting that information out to the public by the next board meeting.
So you don't have projections yet for what your year-end savings would be?
It's a big swing right now. Unfortunately, state aid is the major player in this. Right now, it's being held at 20% reduction. We don't know if that's a truth, if, you know, what that 20% really is. Is it a real 20%? Is it just a cash holdout that will get it eventually in the next year? Are they cutting down the aid? So that's kind of where our numbers are swinging with, and that could be anywhere about a $1.8 million swing if we don't get that 20% aid. So we're watching the governor's reports. We're watching what's going on with aid, with federal aid to the state, in order to make a good decision as to where we're going to land for this year so that we can help out next year.
Okay. The only reason I ask is, you know, I'm going to tell you, I was actually surprised at how low the split session cost. I would have thought that actually would have been significantly higher than what you guys are projecting that cost to be. And certainly knowing what your projected savings are over the course of the year comes into play as to whether that $700,000-800,000 number is actually cost prohibitive or not. You know, I'm one of the parents who are of the opinion that reserves are there for these types of reasons, these unforeseen expenses. I know, looking at the budgets of lots of other schools, they went into their reserves. Like Ron said, other schools had buildings that they were going to sell. They didn't sell them. They reopened them, like Shoreham reopened Briarcliff at a cost of, you know, $1 million just to reopen the building for this specific circumstance. So other schools have utilized their reserves specifically to reopen buildings or to meet these pandemic costs that are hopefully a one-time thing. So, you know, I do understand wanting to be able to backfill what you applied for this year. But, you know, those reserves are there to be used for these extreme type of circumstances. And even if the kids can get back to school for the third and the fourth quarter, you know, perhaps you would have a lot of community support in using reserves for getting, especially if it's 6 to 12, getting all of those 6 to 12th grade back, you know, even if it is only for half a year. So that's just me weighing in on that from a dollar perspective.
Appreciate that, Heather. And you know, I think that, you know, when the when the political climate settles down, I think that, you know, by the 27th, I think we're going to have an indication if there's going to be an additional stimulus package put out that specifically reimburses states, which, we're all hoping for. Because even right now, believe it or not, they're even actually withholding our Native American 20% of our Native American tuition, which is not state aid. That's money that should be guaranteed to us for service provided. So it's odd the way that the state is withholding right now. But we're I think we're hopeful that that state and local money comes in from the federal government.
And then the only other thing, just because you guys had mentioned it, as far as, a survey goes on, what the parents would be, comfortable or willing to do with respect to their children attending full time, perhaps a component to the school community about the notion of bringing them back in a split session type of situation, and, putting that out to the community, including, the teachers. They're huge stakeholders in making something like that successful, and whether they would be willing to entertain that for, 2 quarters of the school year, to have 6 to 12 back full time. We have a pretty exceptional group of educators who really are going above and beyond to do what they can for the kids. And they may very well be willing, knowing it's a 2-quarter endeavor, but if it gets the kids back full time, maybe willing participants. So, perhaps adding that to a survey to the teachers, the staff, the parents, to see what people's thoughts are on it. It's definitely less than ideal, but it is a way to get kids in 5 days a week under less than ideal circumstances.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you. All right. So I have Jen, I'm going to move in, and Bill, if you could put Heather back.
Got it.
So Jen, you're now on the panelist, so you can unmute.
Good evening, everyone. I actually am in a unique situation because I have a 5th grader, a 9th grader, and a 12th grader. I am very thankful to Mr. Ritchie. The going back 4 days a week was a game changer socially and emotionally, as well as academically, because my son was home with his 2 older sisters and I was at work. So just being able to have the support of that teacher in the classroom has helped his academic focus tremendously. However, I do have, a 9th grader and a senior, and I have to say my senior, speaking just like Kayla Mitchell, it is having a huge impact on being in school 2 days a week. And she is an art major, looking to major in art in college, and she has her art classes, and working from home does not have the same effect as having that interaction with Mr. Cadraco on a daily basis. He's a huge influence, but on the computer, it just doesn't translate. And again, an elective. However, there are 2 or 3 students in her class. So those are the, parents like Christine Buff and myself who are hearing these low numbers when our children come home, and then seeing how miserable they are the 2 or 3 days they're home and struggling to keep up academically because of the extra help, or struggling because socially, emotionally, they're stuck on the computer for 6 hours. I really think that survey is a great idea. I am an educator myself, and I teach in a classroom of 20 kindergartners and 3 adults. And granted, space is tight, but it's tight because we have everybody in there and they're 6 feet on center, not 6 feet desk to desk. But just the tremendous growth of those children and being able to see them every day versus when we were in the spring and had no contact, or we, starting watching my kids two days a week. I really feel like we're doing a disservice to our children if we don't look at every single option and every class and elective, and, really try and work the schedule, just because, especially I would say even like other schools, William Floyd, Longwood had started with their seniors, because this is such a detrimental time for them in their AP classes and their other classes. They're wrapping up their time at Center Moriches. And to leave without that, I think we're really, they won't go off to college as prepared as they should have been if we had, tried to be a little bit more creative or look at more options.
I appreciate that. And, we just to, assure you, we really are trying to look at everything.
And I understand the spacing at the high school, but I do know my son also has 23 children in his class and 2 teachers. And I understand that they have the plexiglass, but again, that's just in front of them. When they do go to phys ed and they do go to music and they're a distance, but we are playing pickleball and we're playing soccer, and some of the guidelines have become more regular, a little bit looser for interpretation. And I think in some of that, and now that we are one-to-one device, it makes it easier. If a student has to quarantine, it should be seamless. That's the whole idea of having one-to-one devices as other schools that, oh, you don't feel well, you have your device, just stay home. So a little bit more of that fluidity makes it easier to say, okay, we're at school. Oh, now you have to quarantine. Okay, those kids are at home. It makes it a little bit more fluid as far as flexible grouping and things.
Yeah, I think that will help to some degree. I think that, to what Kayla said earlier, I think is important too, though. Although some classes, have low enrollment, or lower enrollment in a white or a red cohort, that might be their first period class, but that Spanish class with 14 kids, that's a whole different story, because you bring them back, now you got 27 kids in a class. That's where it becomes problematic. It's that you can't, when you try to massage the schedule and say, well, we could bring them back for these sections, it really doesn't work when you look at the entire schedule. So it's just, that's part of the challenge. But thank you so much. And I appreciate the comments from everybody. Please know, we don't take this lightly. We do have one more person. Tara I'm going to promote Tara to a panelist. No, that didn't work. Oh no, she's in now. Tara, are you there? Tara, you can unmute, please. Are you there? Tara? Okay, maybe not then. All right. I guess we'll, again, I thank everybody for your comments. These are not decisions we take lightly. And we certainly are open to any possible solutions and ideas. We'll talk back about a couple of these things, about the lockers, about the surveys, and certainly consider all the feedback we're getting from our community. I'm going to pivot over here.
Do appreciate
What's
it.
that?
I just wanted to
What's
thank
that?
you, as well, Ron. That was
Oh, yeah.
So thank you for
Okay.
all of the comments and the concerns and the questions. That was it.
So I'm going to just jump over and our Dennis has been mastered as the elementary principal. He has mastered the smile and nod through this entire presentation of the high school issues. we could have had you off to the side, but you've been there like a champ, Dennis. But I invited Dennis here to just talk a little bit about what's happening at the elementary, and what we've been able to to work out there, and what that might look like. He did some messaging last week, and I know there were a couple of other questions. So Dennis, you want to jump in and just talk a little bit about the plan and how things are going down there at the elementary?
Sure. Yeah. So first of all, I just want to give a shout out to our teachers. Our 3 to 5 teachers have already been doing an awesome job with the live synchronous. For the most part, it's been, a really great experience for our kids. And, now we're excited that our K-2 teachers are jumping on board and working through all the same kind of challenges and bumps in the road. And it's been great, just as part of this transition, the live synchronous piece was a major factor in that, and getting kindergarten through second grade kids connected throughout the day was, definitely a challenge that had a lot of factors involved, and definitely something that we had a lot of long conversations about. But something that, even in the first week of trial of the teachers trying to figure out, how to make it happen, and the conversations that have been taking place to make that a reality, it's been very positive so far on our end. So our phase 3 rollout, basically we've created a system where, if you check our Clayton Huey's Happenings website, or any of our social media also has the link to that website as well. And on our YouTube page, I posted a video with some, kind of guidelines and laying out the basic kind of fundamentals of this plan. But essentially, I just want to kind of give some quick bullet points about what it's going to entail. The end goal of this whole phase 3 rollout is that starting the first week of February, we are going to be 5 days in person at Clayton Huey for all in-person learners. So we're very excited about that. Not trying to rub any salt in the wound for the middle school, high school, kids. I know that you're all working hard virtually, but it's definitely something that for the elementary teachers and students, we're excited to get the kids back into the building on Wednesdays. Having that continuity of instruction is going to be really important for us to maintain, a lot of consistency. And, there's been a lot of academic drop off, but our kids are being resilient and are coming back better than ever. So a couple other big, just kind of key points to focus on. Our dismissal time is not going to change throughout any part of this, rollout that we're doing. Even as we go to 5 days, it is still going to be the same dismissal time. So students will be dismissed at 2:35 and will be home the same time that they've been home so far this year. That additional time at the end of the day that used to previously be used for live virtual instructional support is now going to be used by the teachers to have additional preparatory time to prepare materials that have to either be sent home to students for the following week, or they are going to be preparing virtual information for the students as well. So while that time won't necessarily be used for one-on-one instruction or individualized instruction with students, the students are going to get that virtual support during the day, because we are going to have the students live for the entire day. So another important piece to just be mindful of is that attendance at the elementary school now is going to be synchronous. So if you were late coming in the door at Clayton Huey, you're going to be marked late in the virtual classroom. So make sure that your kids are logging in on time. The teachers are posting on their websites and Google Classrooms the time that they expect the students to log into their virtual meetings. So just kind of be mindful of that and communicate with your teacher if you have any questions about that. So for the next 2 weeks, the students are going to be full live on only Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So if you are a virtual learner, you will be able to be live during those days for the whole day, K through 5. And then starting again on the beginning of February, kids will be in person on Wednesdays. So obviously, I put out some YouTube videos and posted some information on our website. So check that out. Definitely kind of, make sure that you're consistently going back to look at, updates on that. And we've tried to clarify some of the messaging there to make sure that it's a little clearer. So if you do have any questions after reviewing all of that information, anybody, obviously any of the parents can reach out to me with any questions or talk to communicate with your teachers. All right. Thank you very much. And we're excited. And I want to thank all of our, Clayton Huey parents as well for, just your patience and allowing us the time to make sure that we can get the kids into the classroom safely. It's been, definitely a lot of bumps in the road, but definitely something that we're comfortable now and feel safe being able to get the kids in, socially distanced and have a strong educational format for them as well.
Thank you, Dennis.
Quick, can I just jump in with a quick question?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely want to thank you, because it's been even this week, my fifth grader was home one day and she was just put onto the virtual list and was able to log right in. So, the fifth grade teachers are, I only know fifth grade right now because that's where she is. And, it was amazing. It was very easy and it was extremely helpful for her to just, continue on. The other question I had though is there any chance of extra help coming back? I know like there used to be like Thursdays, there was extra help day. Is that on the radar at all? Is that something that we're looking at for another part of the rollout or?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is kind of situational, based on each teacher and what they're able to do right now. Some of the 3 to 5 teachers have already kind of been in this format and are finding ways of, giving students that time. For us to say that afternoon time is exclusive, like if a teacher decides that time is pretty much up to the teacher to use. So if they decide that there's, that time would be better well spent connecting with one specific student that they want to touch base with. There's no rule that I'm providing that says that it's, absolutely off topic, but really I want the teachers to have that time to connect with their colleagues and see what's going on and make sure that they have that collaborative time. But, obviously, like this is phase 3. We're in phase 3 now. So who's to say that there's not a phase 7? We don't know how far we're going to go with this whole thing. Hopefully we don't get to that point. But I will talk to the teachers and see what, we can come up with in terms of providing that individualized support, especially for the virtual learners. I know that those opportunities are becoming a little more sparse, but I feel like having the kids that are at home live synchronous now is definitely going to be of great benefit, especially to the K-2 kids. They'll be able to answer questions, get questions answered live during the day rather than having to wait until 2:40 to talk to their teacher. So.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So very excited. And, for the parent of a 5th grade, 7th grade, 9th grade, at least, this is great news for the 5th grader. So thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Dennis.
I have Michelle Mitchell. I'm not sure if it's Kayla but I'll promote the panelist. Is that Michelle, Kayla? Did you have a question? Ms. Mitchell?
Hi, hello.
Hello.
Hi, it's Michelle. It's
Okay.
this time it's the mom. Hi, how are you?
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
I know you guys want to end this meeting, but I just needed to share. Here I am. Oh God. All right. So as many of you know, I'm an employee at the elementary school, and I have a 9th grader and a 12th grader who you all know by now, Kayla, and I have my Lauren in 9th grade. I'm gonna cry. I absolutely love our district. I've written letters for teachers. I've always been, a real believer in Center Moriches, and when watching Dennis so proudly speak about everything that's happening in the elementary school makes me so proud to work there. And we work so hard every day in that school. And I'm so proud of that. And, being, a para, I know, I do a lot in the day and a lot that you probably don't know, but, it's the best energy. And then I come home and I see my girls home in front of their computers. Now they're going to start going to the sports. It's like I almost feel guilty. I feel guilty that the elementary school is back 5 days and those kids are having such a great day. And it makes me angry. And I love every elementary school kid in that school. And any worker would know that. And I'm not mad at them. And I'm just upset for my kids. And and I know you heard my daughter, I know you heard Danielle Ramundi and Jen Chernus. We have kids that love school. And I don't know if you guys understand that. I know you say you understand it, but you gotta be creative. There has to be something. Dennis has been so creative with all the teachers. They are such a great team. They've done amazing things that you know about. So I can't sit here and accept the fact that that we can't find a way. I just can't sit here and accept it. And I know my phone is blowing up with parents that want and need for our kids to get back in school. And I feel as if they're not going to. I just feel like all of you guys are listening to us. And again, I love all of you and appreciate everything you do. But I almost feel like everything we're saying is you're just listening to it and it's not even a thought. And it makes me very sad because Kayla's had the best 12 years of her life in Center Moriches, and this year just is not the way she should end her time. So you don't even have to respond. I just wanted you to hear that.
Well, the only thing I could say is, I'm upset that you don't think we're listening, because I can tell you, I had a senior last year that went through it and lost her senior year, and now she's losing her freshman year. And I have an 11th grader that's losing it just as your kids are. And I see the pain in her eyes and I see the pain in her face. So I don't know what it takes for you to understand that I am listening. I am, and I do hear what everybody says.
I just want to see the excitement out of the high. I'm not even going to say it. No, I'm not going to say it. I just would love for the high schoolers to experience what the elementary schools are experiencing. That's it. That's it. And I hope you guys continue to find a way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, George, that looks like that's
Michelle,
all we have on here.
I think everyone on the board has kids in the district. I mean, my son was a senior last year, missed half his year. He's in college now. He's up in his bedroom, virtual 100%. It's killing me. He should be in the middle of Manhattan right now. This pandemic has really hit everyone in a different way. Obviously, we want to make sure everyone's safe. It's more of a space thing than anything else. And I mean, I've had conversations with some of the other board members, and, I'd like to really dig into this more. And like Ron said, if there's any way we can do this safely, we're going to. It's just the numbers right now are spiking so hard, it's not safe.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. So Ron.
Yeah, I think we're set, George.
Okay. Did we want to give Ricardo a couple of minutes for the one-to-one with the Chromebooks?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. So I started talking a little bit about that before, but the bright side of this is we will have better access because we will have this opportunity for kids to utilize their Chromebooks and be one-to-one, 9 to 12, and ultimately before the end of the year realize a one-to-one initiative. So Ricardo, why don't you kind of come in there?
So good evening, everyone. I know it's been a long night for everyone. I'll try to wrap it up as quickly as I can. As I do have to commend the administrators because they definitely set the framework in terms of sort of the rationale as to why we have put the one-to-one initiative in place, at least at the secondary complex in grades 9 to 12. I want to thank the board for its decision at the September 16th meeting to transfer the funds necessary to purchase the 450 Chromebooks that we have in place right now. And just to kind of go into like the logic behind it, I know that the board and the community has heard this terminology quite a few times this evening, which is the personalizing of the learning experience for our students, ensuring equity for our kids by providing them with the necessary technology that is needed to access the hybrid instructional platform that we currently have at the secondary complex. So we are able to do that now. And prior to even having this conversation in terms of the distribution to grades 9 to 12 at the high school, we did a little bit of research. We actually put a a couple of questions out to the technology listserv in Suffolk County, and we wanted to try to gauge other districts that actually have done a one-to-one rollout in their building. And some of the questions we asked were, when you did the rollout, how many of you made the device that were issued by the district mandatory, meaning that the students were obligated to take the device, utilize the device in the classroom, bring it to and from school. And our findings were that 77% of the districts that responded to our questions required students to bring it to school, or required students to take a district issued device, bring it to and from school. And the other piece of that went hand in hand with that was the fact that the districts ended their BYOD policy, meaning it wasn't available to students. The 23% of the other district that responded to our questions said that they did allow districts to have students utilize their own devices. And we understand that the comfort level that some of our students and parents have with the devices that they utilize. So a lot of districts, 23% of the districts that responded to the questions felt the same way. They did allow the BYOD policy to stay in place for obviously the 23% of the students that decided to utilize their own device. So we have decided upon conversation that we will kind of stick to the latter decision that the districts have, as Dr. Massara indicated at the beginning of our conversation, where we are not necessarily encouraging or endorsing it, but we do understand that some kids are comfortable with the device they're using. We are going to allow them to continue utilizing that device to access the instructional program that we have in place, with the conditions that we are going to ask parents to sign a Chromebook district issued device declination form. And in that form, the form that was created actually was constructed by our attorneys, and it identifies a couple of things. One is that parents are declining a device that we are issuing them, which is a Chromebook. Parents are agreeing to have their students bring the device to and from school for the utilization of accessing the instructional program, which has been so pivotal in terms of how teachers are now navigating through this sort of hybrid and COVID world that we're currently living in now. And also it is going to free the district from liability in terms of freeing us from any damage or any loss, or anything that may happen to the device as a result of the child bringing it to and from school. Also, we are going to identify in that declination form that in the event that the parent decides to change their mind and want the device, it is going to be available on based on our availability of what we have in stock. One of the things that we're doing now is that we do have an additional 115 Chromebooks that we ordered. That was part of one of the grants that we have in place. And in the future, we are looking to purchase an additional 200 Chromebooks that were the leftover money from the Smart Schools Improvement Plan. So we are actively looking at replenishing our stock. And the last piece is that for the students that do decide to bring their own device, obviously we are going to open up our Wi-Fi system for them so that they can have access to it as well. And the distribution days, as Dr. Massara indicated, we did start yesterday. Our times, we are at the secondary high school. We are stationed at the library, which is the same location that we did previous distributions at. And we went from 2:30 to 7 p.m. And the reason for that is that we're trying to allow for parents to have time to come home from work and obviously access the location site. The next distribution date is tomorrow, same time, 2:30 to 7 p.m. And after that, we're going to kind of assess where we stand. Right now, to convert the high school to a one-to-one initiative, we are looking at the distribution of an additional 370 Chromebooks to our students that did not get Chromebooks initially. That will convert us to full one-to-one environment at the secondary complex, at least at the high school. So after Thursday, we'll have a better understanding of where we stand in terms of those accepted devices. So the plan would be to next week, look at the possibility of the necessity of possibly opening up another day, and we're looking at tentatively scheduling it for Thursday, possibly the same time, 2:30 to 7. At that point, we will finalize the distribution of Chromebooks to our high school parents from grades 9 through 12, and then look at getting the declaration forms out to the parents that did not decide to avail themselves of a district issued device. And then we would look at the possibility of converting our middle school to a one-to-one initiative, possibly beginning in grade 8. And that's once again, depending on the availability of the Chromebooks that we still have in stock. So that's the plan that we currently have in place. Are there any questions from the board and or community?
I have a question. I have two questions. First of all, is there any disadvantages to not having a Chromebook and using your own device? I mean, because I know one of the things that says on our policy is that we will there's no expectation a particular website or app will function on your own device. So I wanted to make sure that that was something that's going to be addressed with the teachers in terms of what they're using for their learning platforms for people that do have the devices, their own devices.
We're not finding any. I have not heard reports of anybody having difficulty accessing any of the things that they need to access for learning.
Okay. And is there advantage to, like, is there a preference? Is there advantage to have a Chromebook versus your own personal device?
No, and honestly, everything we're using is they're all online applications. So it's really just accessibility is what the device provides. So, so for instance, if some districts are providing, $1,200, MacBook Pros, that's great. But you don't necessarily need them to be able to function effectively in a Google Classroom site and access the instructional apps. So what we're providing is really adequate. You don't need any kind of more computing power. But if kids have better devices and faster devices, well, and they want to use them, that's fine as well. But when they're on our network, the controls in our network do work on their devices because they're going through our network so that they can't access prohibited content.
That's good.
Yes, our filtering programs are still going to work because they have to access our Wi-Fi system to access whatever internet-based site that they're looking at.
But now if your child brings their own device and that's weird, and it breaks and there's no more devices, then you're on your own. But if your child has what you mentioned in the whole form that we'd have to fill out. But if your child has a Chromebook that's issued from the district and it breaks, they will be provided another one.
So one of the things we did, Robin, that's a great question, is that when we did purchase the Chromebooks, we actually purchased a 3-year accidental warranty on each device. So, and I had a conversation with Dr. Massaro today about that. What we're trying to do is always have a supply of Chromebooks in hand for those events, for the event that something happens to a particular device and we have to replace it. Now, we can do that with the school issued devices. We're not going to be able to do that, obviously, with a device that a child brings that is purchased by the parents, because we can't service those devices.
No, but what I mean is my child brings her own device to school and it breaks, and now we don't have a backup, and I contact the school and say, listen, now I want to take part, I want to use the one-to-one initiative and get a Chromebook from the school. If there's none available, we're out of luck, is what the form is saying.
Not necessarily. We're trying to keep a reserve in hand. So that's what we were talking about, and that's where hopefully the 115 devices that we currently have on order, and the 200 that hopefully will come through the use of the Smart Schools Investment Plan, the monies that were left as a result of that, we should be able to have in stock.
So Robin, we put ourselves in a position to have a device for every child. So that's the good news, right? This can only help us because those people that choose to have these extra devices, we do have some devices that are older and nearing end of life, like that, maybe should potentially be retired. So some of those could be put to the side. But hopefully we have some extra inventory for if a computer goes down and needs repair, we can substitute it out, or in those instances, we have extra inventory. We want to have that. But worst case scenario, hey, you kind of opted for it not, and we had to give them all out, and something happened. That just protects us. That's all.
Yeah.
And we'd have to figure something out.
Ricardo, quick question.
Yes.
Ricardo, I think we had a couple hundred donated. Were we able to get insurance on those? I know the ones you said we bought, we have insurance on, but the ones that were donated, were we able to get insurance for them as well?
No, because we didn't purchase those, Tom. So they were donated to us.
Isn't that an option to buy insurance for those devices?
I believe, and Bill, I know you're on the line. I believe that the warranty, the accidental warranty that is purchased has to be purchased when you first order the device. I don't think it could be purchased after the fact.
No, we'd have to usually get it from them, either the manufacturer or the reseller who we purchased it from. Like, let's say it was CDW or being one of those other companies. But since we didn't actually purchase it,
those are on us if something happens to them. We have to repair them.
Right. And
We utilize GoGuardian.
We do. So that's
the advantage of having a Google Chromebook.
That's another really good point that we
As a
talked
remote
about.
student,
Yep.
it gives the teachers incredibly quick access to support the students in their work.
That's
Agreed.
the only disadvantage.
That is one of the disadvantages of not being able to use GoGuardian, which is software that is utilized by teachers not only to monitor what students are doing, but to actually just kind of control what they're doing at the time.
It's a wonderful program that I use as well. And what it does is, for anybody who's on a Chromebook, I can see their screen, but not only can I see their screen, if they're working on a Google Doc and they have a question, I can click on the doc and open it, and we're now collaborating on the document together. It's a wonderful, wonderful tool for offering support to those students that are fully remote, or even students in the classroom that are working on their Chromebooks. So that's certainly something I would urge everybody to consider.
So we do have it in place now, and teachers love it. It's a great feature to have, but you are correct. If a student brings their own device in, we won't be able to utilize that kind of software.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Ricardo.
You're welcome, George.
And Bill.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I think that's it, right? We have, I'm sorry, we should probably see you there. All right. It looks like we're clear. Okay. So, motion to adjourn to executive session for the discussion of personnel, which otherwise would warrant an invasion into personal privacy. Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah. Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Our next Board of Ed meeting is January 27th, 2021. We'll be in executive 6 and we'll be out at approximately 7. And the location is to be determined. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. And have a wonderful night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.